welcome to the 4Corners podcast. I'm Brad, joined by Matt this week. Shad is off on vacation this week, so Matt and I will be bringing you a variety of Joshi matches for your amusement this week. Which actually, I'm really sad.
Too.
Yeah, I'm really sad. I really actually kind of wanted him to see two of them after we went through them.
Which ones?
The Yamashita Watanabe match, I thought he would have really liked because of how hard hitting it was, and the Pom Matcha match, I thought he would have enjoyed because that one the snap bangs really popped me. Pun intended.
that was a fun match.
So you want Shad's not here to keep us on topic, so we might veer around a bit. So we're gonna hit the Joshi matches right off the bat here.
I love Shad. I love doing the show with Shad, but sometimes it's fun when Shad's not here and we just ramble on about nonsense.
Like a couple
and Shad's not here to rein us back in.
Couple of dogs with their tails on fire.
Yeah.
It usually, honestly,
we should just have Brad. We'll talk about Joshi at the end. Let's just do an hour of bashing like Star Wars or something.
That's usually what it turns.
we like to do.
That's usually what it turns into. I didn't send it to you, but there's a is it a game found? A campaign for a G.I. Joe game that has minis coming out.
Oh, okay.
I need to look more into it.
Speaking of G.I. Joe games, like I think it's pretty sure it's coming out this year, but you think you saw it. They're doing it's almost like the old school like TMNT arcade or TMNT.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
When they port it. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a side-scrolling, I guess kind of a beat 'em up. I think it's more just like you shoot, but it's in that vein where it's supposed to be G.I. Joe versus Cobra, and it's very cartoon-ish. I still think I would love for them to do like an actual first-person shooter. With the I think they could actually do that. You'd have to play with it a little bit.
I still think the original NES game, not the Atlantis one that came later, the first one, I think is still the best G.I. Joe game ever.
Well, did you play like the Operation? Was it Operation Blackout or something?
That might have been the first one.
No, that was the one that came out like in the last few years. I know I played on the Switch, but it also I think came out in other systems.
Oh, that had issues, didn't it? But I think they were trying to fix it.
It was not very good. It did have issues. The problem with it is like it was multi-levels, and there was some slight I'll say replay value, but there was you could usually choose as one or two different characters. So you could, like this level, you could play as either, I don't know, like Flint, or you could play as Roadblock. And they had slightly different weapons doing it. So it's like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then it was like the same gameplay in every level. And it's like, outside of sometimes you get to actually drive like a vehicle. But it wasn't really enough. And this is one of those, like if it came out on Switch, and they charge like $10 for it on like the Switch Nintendo online store, it's like maybe, but
I think they should have done.
I think they put it out for like 40 obviously when it came out, but
I think they should go to. I think what they should do to really get a G.I. Joe game that'd be good is get the go to the company that made Broforce and just reskin that with G.I. Joe characters. Because it's already like built. Because if you haven't played that, that's kind of like, it's kind of like an old school like shooter action game, but then you unlock like parodies of like action heroes.
They could even do like a roguelike game.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it might be really weird doing it, but one game I played through a couple times was Hades. I don't know if you played that.
Yeah. I wasn't particularly great at it, but I did enjoy it.
I sucked at it the first time, but then you kind of learn, and I figured out like, oh, okay, so I actually did that pretty well. I beat it like I beat it the first time. I'm like, yes, I beat the game, and then you get sent back to start all over again, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? So I had to actually, I looked it up, and they're like, oh, I know this is designed for like replay value, and I did beat it like 2 more times, but you have different endings to get the first real quote ending. You have to beat the game 10 times, and then you get like some special cutscenes, and to then that's not over. You have to actually like max out. You have the, yeah, if you remember, like they have the opportunity. You can form like friendships or relationships
Yeah.
with the other, because it's set in like the Greek or Roman mythology. So you develop friendships with other like Greek pantheon gods. So if you max out like your relationships with all the gods, of which there are a lot, like over a dozen characters, like 2 dozen, then you get the second like big ending where it's really just like a cutscene where everyone comes and they have like a feast, like a party or something. It sounds silly, but it's like, it's obviously to get you playing the game over and over again. But I tapped out because I'm like, I beat the game 3 times. Like, I don't want to play through this to beat it like 7 more times just to get the one ending. I already beat you 3 times, so I'm tired.
Yeah,
Like,
I lose attention. Like, I have good intentions 100% games sometimes, but like after I beat it, I start to lose, because I got the Suikoden 1 and 2 remasters for my PS5, and I've been playing that, and I've been I think I'm in the last fourth of that, but I've been meticulously going through to get all 108 stars to get like the perfect ending on that. And I even stopped because, have you played the first one?
maybe way back in the day, I think.
Okay. There's a duel.
I have not the remasters, of course.
There's a duel with one of the characters that's really hard, and he can die, which you can't have happen. And way back in the day, I had him die, so I had to grind that up to get him to where he wouldn't die in that battle, which I got through. So it's interesting. I think it's kind of a hit and miss remaster, but I'm gonna get through that, and then I'll get to 2, which is, a legendary game at this point. That if you don't know, at the time, it came out like the same day that Final Fantasy VIII came out, so it kind of died.
Yeah, got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
I've been playing on Switch. I've been playing because I think it was on Super Sale. It was a collection, but the Serious Sam games, like way back in the day, you remember? Like, I'm playing like through the first game, which I never played back in the day. And I had this like a port, but the first game, like, portions of that shit is hard. Like, I'm like, damn, this is not there's sections I have to replay like 15, 20 times just to get the right strategy, because they'll just the game just swarms you with enemies. So you got to figure out the best way to, like, basically run and take out the enemies at the same time to avoid getting hit or mauled by them. So it's tricky. There's like one fucking, anyone who's ever played the game would know this. There's one fucking enemy that I fucking hate them. They look like horses, basically. They're like skeletal horses with like big claws, and they like will run at you and like jump at you, and you have to basically, you can easily avoid that by like just like shifting to the side, turning to the side. But usually when they come at you like 4 or 5 deep sometimes. So it's like you dodge one, but you have to dodge like 2 or 3 more, and it's like doing that usually in a small enclosed space, you're fucked. Like if it's like a big wide big open space, it's like, okay, I can manage this. But I've last time I like played a couple days ago, was in this one area that's like just like a small room, and it's like, well, great. I got to figure out through luck or whatever how to avoid you guys before I advance. So I've been playing that.
You're making Vectron. You're making Vectron twitchy with recollections.
Oh yeah.
In the chat.
I've been playing through like Collection of Mana, but I'm kind of like tired of that. I may go back to playing the second game in the Mercenary Saga, because that I bought that. I actually bought the cartridge for that, and it gives you like the first 3 games.
Yeah, I have that.
I played through the first one, so I may do that one. That's a tactical RPG.
It's kind of like
I enjoy a lot of.
It's kind of like it's kind of inspired by like Final Fantasy Tactics.
It's like Final Fantasy Tactics, Battle Ogres.
Yeah.
Or
Ogre Battle.
That's not
Ogre Battle and
Ogre Battle,
Tactics
yeah.
Ogre is in the same series.
Yeah. Same thing. It's that same concept where you are playing a set stage, and you have advantages based upon your terrain, and there's strategy, of course, with how to tackle the enemies. Like I actually really had a lot of fun with the first one, so I'm probably gonna start playing the second one. Plus, I have like a handful of the Mario games I need to play through. So
yeah, I need to beat
I need
I need to beat Wonder, and I need to start digging into Thousand Year Door.
I played through Wonder. I haven't. That's one of those games that you can beat it, but then the replay is getting 100% at every level.
Yeah, I don't. You
and I'm not there.
I'm not talented enough anymore to 100% Mario games because there's usually some stuff I'm
Some
not
of
good
the
at.
I went through to do that, and I made good progress, but there's a couple levels that it's tricky. Like
Yeah.
you got it, because for example, there's one where it's basically you have to defeat enemies, but it's time limited.
Mm-hmm.
And you can beat it within the time, but you have to get like basically like the gold star, like you have to beat the best time, or do it within a very specific time. And some things like that, it's like I have to play that like multiple times sometimes to get that. And there's one I know, like that's when I stopped. Like I was just like, you're like 2 seconds short or something like that, and you're like,
Yeah.
it frustrates you, and it's like, God damn it. And I know I can do it, but it's like, do I want to sit here in an afternoon and just obsessive compulsive replay this level for like 2 hours over and over again until I do it? It's like, I don't know. I don't. Maybe I want to watch like something on wrestling related, or I just want to play a different game or something. I don't want to do that for 2 hours. So,
If you want
but that's Wonder is super fun if you haven't played it.
If you want a good tactical game, it's more squad based. It's more like XCOM, but Mario Rabbids Battle Kingdom usually goes on like super deep sales, and it's a lot of fun. I beat that a couple years ago. I don't remember if I beat the Donkey Kong DLC for it though. I should look.
If people are watching this, that is the last full week of March. It is Target Circle Week, so there's a bunch of like video games that are on sale.
I need to get X-Blade, Xenoblade Chronicles X, because that just came out last week.
Xenoblade.
Because I have 1, 2, and 3, and I've been meaning to like play through all of them, like 1, 2, 3. But I have a backlog, and but you know, that's how it goes when you game. So
yeah, hold on. I've said before, I pretty much exclusively just play on the Switch because I got 2 small kids and a hectic life, so I don't have time really to like sit down in front of my TV and console game anymore. Let alone like I've told you before, maybe at some point later this year I'll buy like a Steam Deck so I can actually play more like computer or modern games. But I play the Switch a lot, and Switch is great because they will have a ton of games on their digital store for cheap, and they're always on sale. Like I will get probably multiple emails a week about stuff that I've added to my wish list, which you see a game you like, you just click like a heart to save it, like a game. And I'll get emails like multiple times a week, probably at least 3, 4, 5, depending upon whatever. I'll get that things are on sale, and sometimes it's like nothing. It'll be like, here's a couple bucks off a game. So it's like, I don't know about that. But sometimes it'll be super deep discounts. It's like, here's a $20 game that's on sale for 85% off, and it's like, God, like this game that's at least like $20, and like I can buy it for like $4. Like, sure, I'll do it. One that I just got was a port of. It came out like 15 years ago. It came out a long time ago. But if you ever played like the Ghostbusters game that they did, and it was on like PS.
Oh, the
I've
Xbox
been, like,
360
PS3
game. That's like
Yeah.
It's like the one that's like It's pretty much like a. They got all the original actors to reprise their roles, and it's kind of like a direct sequel. Yeah, I played that. It's it's not an amazing game. It's like if I was to rate it, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. Like 7.5 maybe. Like it's fun. It has its issues, but I mean it's not.
It's fun if you enjoyed the Ghostbusters movies, which I did. It's like it's a nice callback to that. This was before they did started making like the new series of
And this
movies,
is
which they've
before
done a
they
couple
made
which
it
I've not
before.
seen.
They made it before. They also made that before
The
like the
all girls
super.
Ghostbusters.
Well, I was gonna say before everything turned into like the super cynical nostalgia key jangling
Oh yeah,
stuff. So it was kind of
yeah.
original at the time.
Oh yeah.
Because this came out in like 2010 or 2011, I think. It's getting up there
I
in
think
years.
yeah, it came out like 15 years ago. It came out a long time ago. I think
Yeah.
was Harold Ramis may have still been alive at
No,
this
they
point,
had all
but
the originals because
it's
yeah. So they did have
it's
Harold
fun.
Ramis in it.
It's so I bought that because I think it was on sale. It was like $10 or something like that. So I'm like I owned it on like PS3 I think back in the day. I'm like sure I will absolutely buy this. This is a fun game to play through. So I don't know. I've extolled the virtues of Nintendo Switch just because there's a lot of stuff like that. It's like this is a pretty decent game. I can get it really cheap, and I can just sit on my couch like playing it, or it's late at night in bed. Like I'm still awake. My wife's gone to sleep. Like maybe I'll just play like this for like the Switch for like 20 minutes before I pass out. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fun.
Okay, so do we want to do the fun match first? Do we want to do like the Starlight Kid matches first, or we want to do the title match first? I think we should start with the Pom Matcha match.
Uh, we can do that. There was breaking news today that Stardom wrestler Mina Shirakawa is leaving Stardom, and that she's basically going to come work in America. So
I kind of wonder if her injury is what convinced her she needs to just say screw this. I'm gonna go make the money right while I can.
maybe a couple like literally like a day ago or a couple days ago, people I guess their antennas got raised because she was supposed to do a couple shows uh Mania weekend in America. Maybe I think isn't Stardom doing a show?
Maybe I know Tokyo.
I think so.
I know my main
Tokyo
focus is
Joshi
on
Pro is.
yeah.
But she was supposed to do. I think she was booked for a couple shows in at Mania weekend. I think one of them was a Stardom show. Maybe another one was a different show. But she canceled. So people were like, "What's going on?" And then like a day or so later today, like it was like, "Oh, she's leaving Stardom." Um, which people like, is it going to be WWE or AEW? Obviously, she's appeared at AEW, so that's what people think it's going to be. And if Tony Khan does want her, um, he's obviously shown that anyone he basically wants and wants to drop cash for, he's a billionaire. Like he will do that, and he will probably. I would say, I find it difficult to see a scenario where he would not, if he wants you, pay less money than Endeavor, TKO, than the WWE would pay. I mean,
Well,
that was the thing. Like with
they're
Will
not gonna
Ospreay.
shell out for they're not gonna shell out for her.
I think they would pay money for her, but I don't think that if Tony wants her, like they're not going to pay as much because they're not. The thing about her, it makes sense for her to actually sign in America with somebody, WWE or AEW, because I think she's improved a lot in ring. She's very beautiful and she has a lot of charisma. She has star
She
appeal,
seems well
but
liked by other workers too.
I haven't heard any bad word about her. Like I've kind of heard negative things about someone who we saw in one of these matches, Julia.
You know what's
But
funny? I want to get more into her later.
mhm, yeah, Mina, I've not heard bad things about. She's well liked, it seems.
Because even
But
even even Stephanie Vac here, who I think kind of did screw people over. You don't hear any of the workers say
mm,
anything like you don't hear negative things about her either. So I think like,
yeah, and at the time, people were like that she handled this unprofessionally, which
but
I
I
think she
mean,
did.
but
But
I think she did. But like, you get a little like you don't hear the things about her like you do about Julia. Like you don't hear the taking liberties stuff that you kind of hear with her. So
yeah, but I mean, she's old. She's like, I mean, Mina is older, So it's like if she's gonna make the money, she needs to make the money now.
Yeah, because at her
Because
age,
if you're gonna,
at her age, you have maybe 4 or 5 decent years in you, and if you can cash out for maybe like, because I mean, in Stardom, you might make like $300,000 or $400,000 American over that 4 or 5 year period, and like in AEW, you might make a couple of million, and even more if like your merch is good and like you catch on.
she needs to cash out while she can, while she has the popularity. Where anyone who is, I know that wrestling is not like real, but you still physically need to be able to do a certain operate at a certain level. So any someone, even though this is not a real athletic competition, you are still doing athletic things. So if you want to act, if you want to do this at a certain level, like once you start aging, you're just not going to be able to do it at that level. Like you need to actually cash out while you can. And I think it makes sense for her to do that. So this is the time, like, and cash in. And I think it makes sense because she had that connection with AEW to do it with AEW. Who knows? I guess we could see. Uh, I Some people I think would probably theorize like because she got pulled Mania weekend. WWE obviously would not let they don't let their talent do like indie shows.
Yeah.
Although didn't they just let like Pete Dunne do like an indie show? I think. Or
Yeah, but
I don't know.
They don't. Well, so they do that as like sometimes they do that to help companies out. Like they did it for Marigold with EO last year, and I mean also it's Pete Dunne. They don't give a shit about him.
Maybe, but
I mean he's still
I
Butch,
think
isn't he?
he may have changed back. I don't know. I could also see like if she's going to go with AEW or she has signed or what have you. Tony Khan just announced that they are not doing Supercard of Honor, Ring of Honor, Mania weekend. So I think that can kind of also point to they're not running. They may not be running, and they're not going to run Ring of Honor that weekend, but maybe they're going to pull like AEW talent or potentially like I don't know. I'm not sure when her contract ends. Like she, I guess, apparently had to tell. Part of I think the new thing is like they had to tell Stardom because people made a point that it's confirmed. Like she had to tell Stardom like I'm leaving by the end of last year. So because this is contract season, I guess.
And I think
For a lot of people, I think New Japan like contract season too because there are some guys in New Japan who either are leaving or have left. Jeff Cobbs allegedly is signed with WWE. I don't know if that's true, but allegedly he has.
I don't mean this to be negative, but like people were excited about him in AEW, and I'm like, I do not need another old ass wrestler that's like past their prime in AEW. And I like Jeff Cobb, but it's just like I don't need another old wrestler in AEW on the TV.
I like him, but he's like what, like 43, I think.
Yeah, he's up there.
And I think it's a good worker, but it's also like where would you slot him in AEW? I don't know.
And he got in late, but like he was a firefighter or something, so I think his body's been pretty beaten up even before wrestling.
Yeah, I don't even know where he would fit into the WWE unless they're
he'll just be in NXT wrestling Sean Spears and Ricky Saints and Ethan Page for all of eternity.
We'll see what their ratings do, but that's like they had like really one of their lowest ratings like ever on
their ratings
CW.
Their ratings are really bizarre because sometimes they'll get like a random good one and then it's like they'll just tank entirely. And it's funny, like Rich and Joe review them and they're actually bemoaning like they want the shitty workers back because I think Rich was just like, I cannot take like these boring ass veterans that they're just putting all over their TV now.
But that's the thing. It's like they did a bad rating. It's like, well, yeah, when you're making your main feud be like Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page
and
Sean Spears. It's like,
and I'm gonna I'll put myself out there because it's been noted on the show, but I am a Sean Spears apologist. but not how they're using him. Like you don't put your secondary title on Shawn Spears and put
No,
him in like
he's
a feud that takes up time. Like he is like Shawn Spears is fine is like a stable mid card feud that you do like a mini feud with a star with that they just beat the shit out of him and move on. Like what
yeah.
AEW did with him, I think is about the best use you can get out of him is just like a stable mid carder.
Yeah, but if anything, like they actually he was presented fairly well. He wasn't like a jobber.
No,
Like he was presented better than most. So maybe because he's like, friends with Cody or whatever, but he's the guy that's like, okay, like for example, AEW, Speedball. Speedball Mikey Nichols just debuted. Like, yeah, that's a guy. Well, maybe not. You wouldn't necessarily right at the gate be like, get in a feud with Sean. Like that would maybe undercut him. But I mean, let's say you debut a guy and like he has a couple good matches, and it's like, oh, you want to have him like have like a brief like 2-week feud with Sean Spears.
I mean,
and he beats him, and it's like, okay, you would do like a 6-month feud with him.
Well, I think like how they're gonna do Bailey challenging Omega for the international title. I think that would be like a really good way to like bring in like, even if you have done like Ricky Saints to challenge for it, like do like a tournament and have him win the tournament. I just think I hate the word fumble, but man, like I do not understand the way they booked Saints. Well, I don't understand the name for starters, but like they did everything you possibly could, I feel like, out of the gate to make you not care about him. Like they did like 2 contract signings right out of the gate. Like feuding him with Ethan Page just automatically kind of puts you.
No, people, I think it's a little premature, but people are already starting on social media. They're starting to say, like, oh, the pendulum is now shifting back to AEW, because AEW, their attendance has been up a little bit.
Their attendance has been everything's been up there, which is interesting. So their attendance has been up. Their ratings have generally been better. They've had their ups and downs. They've had some bad weeks here and there, but like they've largely
been more stable.
Yeah, and I'm kind of shocked by that because like they're really it's interesting. It's interesting that they have such a bad main event angle and the shows are doing better. And I'm interested, like, and I hope they realize that those shows are doing better despite the Death Riders.
Yeah.
But I also think though they're doing better because the TV's better. Like the TV is not the disjointed mess it's been for the last 2 years. Like they're paying attention to details. Like the TV's been good. There's focused. There's a lot
of acts.
Yeah.
Good.
It's just better. That like the Tony Storm, Mariah May thing was a well-built feud that they have struggled with for the last 2 years. Like they've done a lot of logical stuff. They're using their stars well. Like there's a reason they're doing better because they're actually booking better.
Yes.
Because I would say,
there's interesting storylines like you just highlighted. There's acts that are very over. You're seeing good stuff both on paper, not just on pay-per-view. You're seeing good stuff like on weekly television, outside of the Death Rider stuff. Which, again, people like us can be like, I don't like it, it's not working, and I've argued like, it's not working. You should move on. But if you actually look at the ratings, it's not that bad when they're on. It's not like it just craters. And
I think it's kind of like WCW at its peak. I think the rest of the show is good enough that they're just putting up with them.
Maybe, but I don't like using this as the metrics.
I will say, I did not like the match last week, but I do think Moxley and Copeland kind of did redeem themselves a bit with a better match. I did not like it personally, but
with the hardcore match they did, where Mox got a bat embedded.
Yeah, it was better because like the cage match I thought was. I mean, no, it wasn't a cage match. Sorry, I thought the main event of Revolution was garbage. I didn't like the Christian stuff, but I thought they obviously took it personally that failed and like ran this back to prove that they could actually do it. And I want to say
Yeah.
the Mercedes Moné Billy Starks match was off the charts. Awesome.
Yeah. I have not seen that yet, but I've heard
I
good
would
things.
say that's probably like top 5 of Monet's best AEW matches.
Oh wow. People need to realize like she's been better than she ever has been when she was in WWE. I know that people don't like to hear that, but she's phenomenal.
She's
like on the top
better.
of her game.
I mean, I think there's structural reasons why she's better now. I think because I think her best matches are still in WWE, but she's working with I think better women on a week to week basis. She has more creative control, so she gets more time to put into her matches. But I'd say like the Bailey match, the Becky Lynch, Hell in the Cell are really two of her standout matches.
Mm.
So,
I think she's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
But
so Brad is in the chat and he has voted for the Pom match first when we get to it.
Okay. Really quick, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I wanted to circle back. Two things. I want to make one point about AEW and the ratings and all, and then I want to circle back to NXT Ricky Staines. The first one, so Meltzer kind of has been arguing this on Twitter. I think he has a great point because I just mentioned like the ratings of either in AEW have been stable. Some weeks they're not as good. Some weeks they're
and this decent. Is the thing. This is the thing I've said about Raw, and what people have to realize is in the current landscape of TV, and that was a remarkable thing about Raw. I think the last couple years on USA is not losing viewers.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much is the same as gaining viewers in this landscape of TV. Like if you're holding stable and you're not losing much, you're doing really good, because TV's losing viewers. Like TV is like an attrition based thing now. So like I said, when Raw wasn't losing viewers, like they weren't gaining viewers, but they weren't losing viewers, and AEW not losing a lot of viewers, like that's a very strong like showing.
Well, that's what I want to get at, because Meltzer has kind of made this argument, and he's right. And this is the logical argument that people aren't. It's frustrating to me. You have to be a nerd to care about ratings. Ratings shouldn't matter, but they do. So because we're in this perception war where if AEW's down, like 50,000 viewers, it's like the sky is falling. Oh my god, like terrible. But the ratings for AEW have been stable, but since the beginning of the year, so now going on like 3 months, they've been on HBO Max or Max, whatever. It's not HBO Max anymore, I guess. They've been on HBO Max, where it's simulcast. And Meltzer's been making the argument lately, and he's right, that it's like Max. I don't know if he's like, I think he's basing it on like subscribers. So it's like Max has however many subscribers. I think it's 60 million or something like that.
I think it's like 60.
It's a large number, and I have it. And now when I usually watch AEW, I DVR it, so I'll just watch like DVR.
I watch it on Max because I don't need to justify having like YouTube TV or anything for AEW anymore. But I do think it's interesting. It's an interesting conversation that I need to do more research into. But I think it's interesting that people have the choice and they didn't leave TV. And I kind of wonder if, because I've kind of talked about if I wonder if Raw going to Netflix was a massive mistake, because like when it's on Netflix, and I mean, if you wanted me to guess how many people watch AEW on Max, I would say if they're getting 30,000 people to watch it on Max a week, they're probably doing good. Like I bet they barely get any live viewers on Max. But it loses that like appointment viewing, like event urgency that like linear TV has, or whatever, or terrestrial TV, or whatever the fuck they call it these days. And I've been wondering about that because, like I said, AEW went to Max and their ratings actually got better, like on a week to week basis. Like the average got a little better. So I think there's probably like 5 people watching Dynamite live on Max, and Shad and I are 2 of them.
I actually, so again, on social media, I've seen people talk about like, oh, I watch on Max. Like, so how many people? I don't know. Maybe it is like only 30,000 watch live.
I think
But
I've heard
how many people are watching?
I think I've legitimately heard, and I don't remember where I heard it. I think I've heard like 10 to 20,000 bandied about for the Max viewers.
Live watching live.
Yeah.
Well, you also have to factor like how many of those people then are going to be watching it on Max. They're using it almost like a DVR, where it's like, let me watch it. Like, I'll watch it that week. Maybe I'll watch it live.
So
I'll watch it the week.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess AEW has more people that'll watch it later, but I'm betting the average wrestling fan of both companies, if they miss it live, they don't. They'll watch some clips on YouTube, and then they're good for the week.
Maybe people like me, like I'll DVR it, and I'll watch it on DVR.
Because think about like this. I learned this the hard way about myself. It like if the Bengals are gonna play on Sunday and I miss the game and I DVR it, I'm not gonna watch it because it already happened. Even if I don't spoil myself, like I'm not gonna go back and watch it. Like I'll do that with baseball sometimes because baseball is its own deal. But yeah.
See,
but
I will.
If it passes live, I'm not gonna watch it because, I'll watch the highlights, but it's over. And I wonder if a lot of wrestling fans like view wrestling in the same way.
I think it depends on what you want to actually watch. Like for AEW, like I'll watch it. Like a lot of times now, I may fast forward some stuff, but I will generally watch it. But if I was like watching like Raw or something like that, or SmackDown, like I'm not into that, so I'm pretty much gonna I'm gonna fast forward it, or I'll just watch it on YouTube.
Well, I think
the clips.
I think too, like with Raw, like let's say the main event for this week is like John Cena versus The Miz. Like, are you really and you miss it? Like, you might watch it live, but like, even if you're a diehard, are you really gonna go back and watch John Cena versus The Miz? You've probably seen that match 20 times in the last 15 years. You know John Cena is going to win. And you pretty much can guess what like 50% of the match is going to be. So like, I mean, like if you got something weird, like it's actually the match that they bait and switched me on that made me stop watching Raw every week. But when they bait and switched me on Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio, they bait and switched it, and I was so pissed because like it was like at the time, I mean they've done it quite a few times since then, but I was like, oh, that's actually a unique match. I kind of want to see. I'm not a big Seth Rollins fan, but hey, that's a unique match. I kind of want to check that out. And then they bait and switched me, and I got pissed off. And
plans change, pal.
Yeah.
But
other Brad says that AEW does have good DVR numbers. Hey,
I can believe it.
Do you know if Raw or SmackDown had good DVR numbers? On that same token.
I don't know.
I was asking Brad. Yeah.
Yeah. To finish my thought about Meltzer, like Meltzer has argued recently, like the last few days, and it's logical that you can throw out like maybe 10, 20,000 watch it live, maybe 30,000 on a good week, but Meltzer's point is like, well, the ratings for AEW have not really changed. Maybe they've improved even a little bit. So, because Max is in millions and upon tens of millions of homes, they won't release the numbers.
Well,
he stemmed off. It's like for people shouldn't act suspicious about that because Netflix doesn't release numbers for stuff either, for Raw, for anything. They can claim like, oh, something like Stranger Things, like #1, like the most streams like we've ever got for a show. It's like, or how many? Like they won't tell you. So I mean, it could legitimately be like, this was streamed 100 million times. Like, okay, that may be true, but
the other problem is
they won't say that.
The other problem too is, especially when they talk about Raw, like let's say you go back to rewatch just a match, that counts as a view. So like, I think the problem is, and they'll never release it, is what would be interesting for Raw more than like the numbers which people are obsessing about, it would be the watch hours. Like what are the watch hours the show is getting every week? Because that would really tell you a lot. Because the numbers have a lot of smoke and mirrors. And Meltzer, like you've been saying though, Meltzer's been talking about how the numbers are probably worse than they're reporting because of stuff like that, and people lose their
Oh,
mind.
for Raw, Meltzer actually had a long explanation at that they're doing weird things that you're hearing. Oh, like worldwide, like they got like 1.6 million for watching Raw like this week or something like that. But they're doing weird things where it's like it actually may be less than that. They're actually doing tricks where it seems like they're actually maybe inflating the numbers a bit, maybe
Well,
less than that.
they're doing like stuff like that too.
Yeah, which is bad. But for AEW, the point that he's made, which has to be true, is that okay, let's say this week on AEW, like 685,000 watched on cable. So that's like their rating. And people can poo-poo it, but it's like, well, Max is in tens of millions of homes, and I know I have seen people on Twitter, on social media, saying like, "Oh, I watch it on Max now, because it's better video quality, whatever." There's reasons to watch it on Max, but Meltzer's point, which makes sense, is that we don't know how many people are watching it on Max, but the fact that it's in tens of millions of hours, I'm sorry, tens of millions of homes, it's not, the number is not zero people who watch it on Max, because why
No,
even offer it on the service?
no,
Why live cast it on Max if no one is watching?
and
So people are watching.
there's like some weirdo that's already like gone through most of their back catalog already, and there's weirdos like us that are gonna watch it. But I mean, I also think it doesn't matter. Like that was an add-in to their TV deal, and being more accessible is good for them. Like I think
Yeah.
that's what made me very sad when Raw went to Netflix. Was I was very sad for like the older fans they had that were now being paywalled.
I have to imagine that the decline in ratings for Raw, because even look, let's assume they're not doing something weird. Generally, they're getting like now, since they debuted in January, they're getting like 1.6 million, like worldwide.
Yeah, they're getting like
Um,
they're kind of waffling between like 2.8 and I think like 3.2 million.
it's a big drop.
Yeah, and I think like I also think people got to realize stuff like Stranger Things, which was super popular. I bet if they saw the actual numbers, would be shocked at how low it is.
It probably does quite well, but when you factor in the fact that there's like 7+ billion people on the planet, if you have like, oh, it's been watched 100 million times, it's like, well, that's big. What in the context of like 7 billion people, or Netflix worldwide has like a billion subscribers? Like 100 million would actually be quite good. So
Well,
maybe that's not the best
well,
analogy, but
and to think about it
let's say it's
too,
been watched like 20 million times. It's like, well, if you have 100 billion, or like 1 billion Netflix subscribers worldwide, then like 20 million's like, that's not, you're in like that's like 2%. And that's like your biggest show.
and
But
think about put it all in perspective. When they did the Jake Paul Mike Tyson match, which
oh yeah,
they said they've been vague about that, but I think I've heard about 60 million people were watching that live. That melted their service down with 60 million people
oh yeah,
trying to watch one thing at one time, and so that
I
means that's only happened once.
I watched that and we talked about it. And I had bad connection, and I have like high speed internet. So for me I would just exit out and go back in, and it would be fine for at least a few minutes, and then it would do it again. But it was easily fixed. Like it's like I could fix it in like 5 seconds. But yeah, they had streaming issues for that because too many people were watching it. Excuse me.
It worked on my phone, but okay. So other Brad has voted for the Pom Matcha match.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is no DQ match. This is
This is from Well, it's
set.
from November 30th, 2024,
Yeah, so
in Bangkok apparently.
this is so this is like a partnered promotion to TJPW. It's
Okay.
they don't have a show on Cage Match since this, but it's called Setup. So it's a Thailand based promotion.
Hmm.
Ultraman Black actually has one of their belts.
Why? Does he still wrestle
Yeah, he does. He wrestles. There's a couple of like promotions in like
frequently?
Pennsylvania, like maybe monthly.
You know, I should look. Like we we follow on Twitter like a company that's basically, it seems like it's, what's it called? I need to look it up. But
There's
it's
a
one of those
couple of like
promotions.
Chikara, like promotions
Yeah,
that use a lot of Chikara talent.
it's a promotion that I think they're just gonna run their first show or one. They're running a show soon, but I think
there's
it's
another promotion that runs a lot of the Chikara guys.
yeah. I think it's a Shikara. A lot of either Shikara guys are running it or they book a lot of Shikara talent, and it's based in like Pennsylvania. So
Yeah. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if Ultraman Black was running one of them. But so it's in Thailand. It's not a women's promotion, just FYI.
really,
So this is the All Asian Women's Championship. So this is a no DQ match coming in. Matcha is who doesn't have a cage match profile, which is really weird.
Hmm.
So this is Matcha defending the All Asian Women's Championship against Pom Harajuku, making her 4Corners podcast debut for a review.
How have we not done a palm mash so
Cause,
far? Well, I guess we don't do a lot of Joshi.
well, in
Chats.
TJPW is really not out there for like YouTube, and we try not to like make each other spend money, which would be a Wrestle Universe subscription.
I have a Wrestle Universe subscription.
Yeah, I do
and
too.
For those, I will. That's one of those things. Like we'll do plugs. I will plug certain services. I will plug IVP videos because you should buy his stuff because it's cheap and he has a great website. But he has Patreon that I talked about before. For $5, you can subscribe and get like 24 shows or something stupid like that a month. It's a ridiculous value because you could literally watch a show practically like one show a day for like the amount of money for $5. Like the amount of money it takes to get like one Starbucks coffee, you can have like an entire month's worth of like wrestling shows that he'll just throw up there every month. So
there's a Patreon.
Wrestle Universe.
I should email Chris and ask if I can plug him. But there's a certain one on Patreon that's $5, and you get access to his Google Drives with like crap loads of old TV.
Oh yeah.
But I should probably ask him before I plug it.
Wrestle Universe though is another service I will plug because it is a fantastic value.
And
it's
you get
like $10 or less.
No, it's like $8.
It's on the
$8.99. I think so for that one subscription you get TJPW, you get DDT,
Joshi Pro Wrestling.
Yeah,
DDT.
You get Marigold, you get Sendai Girls, you get you get Michinoku Pro, you get Noah, and you
Pro
get
Wrestling Noah.
Gonbar.
01.
Is 01 on there now?
01 is on there now.
And there's some other like weird offshooty ones that you get.
You get looking it up, like you get at least 8.
Yeah.
Full promotions.
You could probably go on
for
there
like
every day.
Less than $10.
You could probably go on there every day and have a new promotion to watch.
Well, like I just said, like IVP, it's like you can have like for $5 you can have like a month's worth of shows. You could probably for less than $10 on Wrestle Universe, you probably have more than a show a day with all 8 of those, like, or at least like that much. Like between the 8 shows in a month.
Defy's on there now too.
Defy is on there?
That's what DPW is, right? That's Defy.
Oh, I don't know. No, deep. Oh yeah, DPW is.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me see. Let me pull up the app. Uh, I'm not. Oh wait, I spelled that
And
wrong.
their
Hold
and
on.
their app's pretty friendly. It's not like trying to do the Stardom website. Stardom's a great service, but their website's a little janky to.
Uh, no, it doesn't look like it's Defy. Uh,
Deadlock Pro Wrestling.
Deadlock Pro Wrestling, not Defy Pro Wrestling.
Stardom service is much cheaper. Like I think Stardom's under 6 for me most months. Um, but it's website based and it's a mess to navigate. So it's a nice slick thing to watch, and like it's really easy to get to everything. Like I said, I'm several shows behind, but my New Year's resolution for 2025 was to watch every TJPW show this year, and I've
So
been sticking to that.
I quietly have tried to match that, but I'm not even. I don't think I'm halfway through
Well,
January at this point, and we're almost in April.
the good thing though about their shows is for anyone watching. Most of the house shows are 2 hours, and
Yeah,
you can literally, because of the up girls singing at the beginning, you can usually skip the 15 minutes in and get to the first match.
yeah,
So it's more like an hour and 45. Um,
and most of the house show stuff, like the matches outside of like maybe like the big matches, the matches are like under 10 minutes or so. They're
yeah,
pretty quick.
it's a lot of tags and stuff, and um,
Yeah,
the bigger shows are usually like 3 or 3.5 hours, but that's maybe like they did the big 1-4 show, and then they started building up to the princess show that just happened a couple weeks
mm.
ago, and they didn't do any big shows in between that. So, um, Brad also said he's doing that, and he's also doing Sendai Girls. I think Sendai Girls doesn't run as much. I've watched a lot of Sendai Girls in the past, but
Yeah.
so so they kind of come out, and this is, I would say, this is kind of a mix of comedy and legit fighting, because Pom's largely a comedy character.
I feel Pom is almost exclusively a comedy character.
Well, I would
This,
say not, because they've been subtly pushing her like as a legitimate threat this year. Like in the stuff I've
he,
watched, she tends to win a lot. And she's still kind of funny, but she does like, it's not like when you watch Palm a year or two ago and she was just like a straight up jobber.
yeah, she does still does most of comedy, and this match is most of comedy. But she did at one point it stopped being comedy where Matcha was just mauling her.
Yeah.
To your point about Pom, like I haven't maybe seen as much recent stuff about with her as you have. One thing that I did notice, because again, me trying to watch like Tokyo Joshi Pro uh, from January onward, the gauntlet match. No, it wasn't a gauntlet, but it was the multi-man match where it was like where Rika uh, won the basically like the #1 contender spot to challenge against Mizuki.
Oh yeah, well, that wasn't a battle royal because they had to pin.
No, it was like a 5 or 6 man or 5 or 6 woman, sorry, uh, fight, and Pom was in that, and she did some comedy stuff too, but also she kind of like was doing a little bit more legit, and it did make me wonder about her, like the real person. It's like I assume like her background is kind of like in comedy because she's mostly a comedic wrestler, but some of the stuff she does is actually clever and funny. Uh, and it's
She's
like I
not
don't.
like,
This is the WWE, so this wasn't scripted for you. I imagine you just came up with all this stuff
what,
yourself. So I
like
think probably
she's I wouldn't call her like the most graceful or like technically perfect wrestler, but she's not bad.
she's not bad, but some of the stuff she does when actually she does not just comedy, but she's actually doing like pro wrestling. She does it in a way that it's like you seem like you actually have some athletic ability, So it's like, what's your
I mean,
background?
she
Like, is
gets some
she?
air. Like she has one of my favorite finishers because she does this where she steps on their back and like jumps up and like leg drops them.
Does like
But
a leg drop,
yeah, and
which
her
yeah, it
drop kicks are pretty decent, and she gets around pretty. Like there's some matches where she does do some pretty complicated like back and forth type stuff. I wouldn't
yeah,
say
it,
she's not like Miyu or Mayu who we see in that's going to be
no.
our main event of the night, or even like. And I wouldn't even say like I mean of the ones we watch, I honestly think Starlight Kid's the most athletic. Like
Oh, she's yeah,
she's
she
kind of in
in
freak she's kind of in freak territory because
oh, she's very good.
she
Yeah.
does one of my favorite moves that I wish someone would rip off, which is the rotating frog splash.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you want to visualize it, so she does a frog splash, but she like turns in the air and like lands with her face facing the turnbuckle she jumped off
Yeah.
of.
She like inverts almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool looking.
But yeah, like I seen Pom do some stuff too, where it's like I almost feel like you have more athleticism than one would necessarily expect from like just a comedy wrestler. So I wonder what her athletic background is, if she has it, because I think there is some athleticism there. So maybe
Her,
I
she
don't know,
has
it could be
good.
like
I think she has
I
good.
played volleyball back when
I think
back
she
when
has
I was
some
in
good.
university.
I think she has good psychology too. Because you even see it. There's things she did in this match that I thought was pretty good. But so so one thing I did like to get off. So when they start off with a comedy, so they're doing this thing where um Matcha gets a kendo stick,
Yeah.
and they murder the referee like 2 seconds into this. But so she keeps trying to
Oh
hit
yeah.
Palm, and
Which,
Palm will duck, and she bounces it off the ropes and hit herself in the head. And there's one point where Palm's like, "Oh no, I'll stand here this time." So here, and then she does it. Then she moves and she hits herself. And then Palm grabs the kendo sticks and starts hitting her, and they go outside.
yeah.
And this is the favorite one of the favorite things I've ever seen in a pro wrestling match. So she gets, if you remember when you were a kid, those little snap bangs, and you throw
The
those on the
poppets.
yeah, um,
They sell them at like Target, like
yeah,
during like, well, really it's more like a summer thing. I know because my oldest daughter loves them, and
and
my wife and I like my wife and I cringe. Go ahead.
they do hurt because my friends and I being boys did tend to throw them at each other sometimes, so they do
Uh,
hurt a little bit. So she gets these snap bangs and starts throwing them at Matcha and chasing her around, which is hilarious though because for the rest of the match you hear these damn things going off because I think
oh
the
yeah.
ring boys were getting them off the ring and snapping them, but I think some of the crowd are finding them and snapping them too.
Well, at one point, yeah. So Palm is like throwing these at them, and really she's throwing them like because they have to
They're
do
throwing
the
them. She's
pop.
throwing them at her
You need
feet.
yeah, you have to throw them at a hard surface for them to pop. And like I said, my daughter loves them. My mother-in-law, God bless her, she will send because she knows my oldest daughter loves them. She'll send like boxes of them in the mail, and my wife and I will get that and be like, just put her heads in her hands, like, oh no.
It could be
Uh,
worse. It could be like there are worse things to send.
uh, but Palm is like throwing these at Matcha's feet, and I had a big kick out of this because like this is the first I've seen a lot in wrestling.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever seen a pop it.
Well,
Uses an actual
it
weapon.
actually
She's throwing them, and Matcha's like ah,
it
like it's a
reminded me
firebomb.
it reminded me I don't remember I think it was the Eddie Gilbert episode when I think it was him and Tommy Rich wrestling like Rick Rude and I think Jim Neidhart and those fucking animals in the Memphis crowd like threw a firework at Rick Rude on the outside. And it wasn't like a puppet. Like they threw something nasty at him on the
Probably
outside.
M80 or something.
Yeah, because I was
I
just
think it's
like,
gonna blow a finger off.
yeah, because those fuckers in Memphis are a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's kind of running away. They get back in the ring.
There's a great spot at one point where I guess there was still like a pile of them in the ring or something, and Pom just like takes a fistful and it's like ah,
yeah,
it's just like throwing it.
and then she has
I think she really got into that.
She has another great one. So they're doing stuff with a folding chair, and she has another great move I like because so Matcha goes up and kind of does this with the chair, and Pom actually like kicks her in the knee and comes off the ropes and drop kicks the chair right into her face, which I
Oh
thought
yeah.
was great. So this kind of turns into Matcha starts mauling her. They go up and do the big spot where Pom's like almost like falling off the top because she's acting kind of like she's knocked out,
Yeah.
and Matcha does this like setup with the chairs. Pom throws her off the top, and then she does her leg drop face first in one of the chairs. What I actually liked is she was like, "I'm not risking this," and she went and did a second leg drop before pinning her.
Mm.
And this is the first championship Pom's ever won. I liked how she
Yeah.
screamed like after she pinned her.
Mm.
And
This
I have to say this was a small crowd, but they were really like lively.
They were really into it. It was a small crowd. I mean, this is one of those situations. It's like I don't want to be unfair and say like high school gym, but I mean
It would look
it's a
like
small venue.
it kind of felt like maybe like a bar venue or like it used to be a warehouse, but which I actually thought was great because it was kind of echoey in there, which made the snap
Oh yeah,
bangs louder.
yeah,
You could hear them,
yeah.
but Palm was over. Like she got a good.
She's over. I mean, she has a following. Like I'm a fan of Pom too because she is. I think. Look, there's a lot. There could be a lot of comedy in Tokyo Joshi Pro. Like a lot. They do a lot of comedy stuff, and she is maybe the best in my opinion in the company at some of the comedy stuff that is done. Like I think she has a really fun character. I think she sometimes does stuff that's very clever. And again, like this isn't the WWE. They're not scripting this for you. Like she's the one who is probably coming up with all of this, and it's funny. It's whimsical sometimes. Like I'm a fan of her. I think she has a lot of charisma. So I think it can come through, and she's likable. She's one of those people. It's like I can't imagine Pom ever turning heel because she's just like a silly like
Yeah.
fun character.
I do like.
Um,
I do have a soft spot for Haroon and Nako
oh yeah,
because
yeah. It's funny when she acts more cat-like.
there was her and Hyper Misao teamed up on one of the shows I watched a couple weeks ago. And Hyper Misao does that like standing surfboard
Mm.
where she kind of swings them, and she was doing that, and Neko was scratching them in the face with her
Oh
claws
yeah.
when they. Oh no, you know who else I love though, and she's not. I don't think she'll stay comedy, but Uda Takami is hilarious.
Mm.
Like her screams of terror when she's about to get like slammed and stuff. And it's funny because she's only been doing it for a year and she's like 16 and she's better than like 75% of the women in NXT.
Yeah. As an aside, just Tokyo Joshi Pro is because I've followed it and I've watched it now for like a bit, like 2-3 years. And it's interesting to watch because I guess watching it now for like let's say 3 years, maybe about the time, like you can clearly see there has been a progression of some of the people who were at a certain level, like maybe mid-card level, slowly being elevated or becoming more important. And we're kind of in that stage now where there is now like clearly like an undercard or new.
They're kind of getting away from
the newest class
because like Suzumi's come up to the top. Yeah. Reiku actually, speaking of this title, Reiku just beat Pom for it.
Mm.
Yeah. Like they Mayu coming up to the top. I think even like making the 1-4 thing was Mayu and Maizuki, and then the last big show was Maizuki and Rika at the top. So I mean, I think they're doing some different stuff.
Yeah. Is it Mahiro who is she the one who like basically plays
Kihara,
straight?
Who's like the normal person?
Yeah, she plays it straight, so she's just like, I'm here to wrestle guys, and then everyone is like just a character and a completely antisocial personality.
Yeah.
And so she'll be in like tag matches and like she want to wrestle and everyone's just doing weird antics or something and she's just confused. She was the one that wasn't it in it was the January 4th show. I think it was their big show. Wasn't she one? Was that the one where she was in the Aja Kong tag
Yeah,
multi like six woman tag match with she was on Aja Kong's team with, and
yeah.
the other side was Raku, and
Reiki
Aja
was
Kong just
Reiki
loves
was kind of being a
Raku. Yeah.
jerk to poor Aja. 'Cause that's one of the funniest things about Aja Kong and TJPW is so Aja Kong is Aja Kong obviously, but she legitimately has an affection and like fondness for Reiku.
Mm.
Like the goes like every time, and Reiku is being kind of mean to her. But my favorite thing that she does though, Miharu, is
Hmm.
her knee drop where she like bows down on top of them and apologizes before she does it.
Mm.
But
That's a that's a great like that. She's obviously the kind of like the newer class, but that's a really just fun subvert. I love when they subvert stuff.
I
I love
actually
her
think
that
she's more
basically her gimmick is
experienced.
that she's just
I think she's more experienced, but they repackaged her from being like to a more.
I just like the gimmick. I like where she's basically like,
Oh, she's
I'm a
one of my
straight wrestler,
favorites.
but I'm not. I'm gonna apologize for doing this. I oh, like she's serious business, and everyone else is just a wacky
Well,
character.
they did
Not really
this
wacky character, but
Royal Rumble thing last year, and like she
mm,
came in her spot, and then she could like she she was waiting for someone to like to politely ask someone to do a lockup, so she was just kind of standing there waiting and waiting and waiting.
mm, mhm.
But yeah, she's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But so this I thought this was a I actually had I thought I think I said my comment after that was this match was stupidly fun and like way better than it had any right to be, and I had like a crap load of fun watching this. Like, because it was one I wish Shad had watched because I think the snap bangs would have popped him.
It was fun. And I thought it was interesting that you got to see Pom like sell more. She took more offense than I've probably ever seen her take, and she sold pretty well. So I find it interesting when you have someone like her who is clearly a comedy character to do stuff that's more, lack of a better way to put it, pro wrestling.
Yeah,
Meaning like you're gonna go in there and like get your ass beat and sell. And she did a pretty good job of that. So it's like, like, can you do more than just the comedy stuff? She doesn't. I don't know her obviously. She seems though to be more like I think her lane is comedy. That's her strength. So I think I would imagine she's gonna stick with that. But
I
I don't
think
know.
they're
I could also I could see her. I could see them doing like a tag run with her, maybe like her and Reiku,
she's
something.
she wins more than she loses now, so I think she's settling into a mid card role because she used to be just a straight
Mm,
up jobber
yeah.
a couple years ago. So I think they're comfortable with having her like find ways to win.
Well, that's where I could see them like some of the, and there's a class even like under her, but people like maybe at her level who've been around like a couple years, not 10 years, but have been around like 2 3 years. Like they're now getting moved up a little bit, and some of the people, there's people under her, uh, like Waka or Himawari, are now like kind of moving up to that level too. So yeah, maybe they now have like a younger class, I guess. So
And they're starting to like when I first started watching them was like maybe 2017 is like when I kind of started first checking them out, I
oh
think.
wow,
And
okay.
and it's amazing how much that company's grown because they were doing like these little ass shows with like a single camcorder on Wrestle Universe at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and now I mean like we'll get to it in the main event, but the main event they drew 2,139 people for that show, and they just drew a big ass like Cork and Hall crowd. I didn't see what the show this month did, but like they're pretty much beating Marigold's ass on the draw right now.
Well, they should. I mean, that's a whole. We could have a whole like separate discussion about how Rossi and Marigold like really overplayed I think
He ran too many
he
shows.
made bad.
He ran too many shows.
He ran. He immediately at the gate he thought like I'm gonna leap above Stardom. When you have like 4 or 5 when you started,
Yeah.
you had maybe like 5 like name people, of which one pretty much immediately went to the WWE. So now you have like 4, and the rest are like rookies. And then you proceeded to like, let's do like 1,000,000 shows a month, and you either burnt them out or they got injured,
and then you burnt
yet
the
you
crowds
still
out.
won't
You
still won't like decrease the schedule.
Well,
So it's like,
I think he's running like what TJPW is running this year, which is still too much. But like you also, I think you burn the crowds out on mediocre stuff when you do that.
But Tokyo Joshi Pro, outside of the big shows, they do what other Japanese promotions do, which is the right idea. Like New Japan does this, and it's like they don't get heat for it because people understand it's smart. It's like, okay, big shows, we're gonna have the big matches, but if it's a house show, even if it's on like New Japan World, or in this case like Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling Universe, it's like, let's have 6 matches on the card, 8 matches maybe, but really like 6. Keep it 2 hours, and let's have like 4 of those 6 matches be like multi-person tags.
Yeah, and push the
angles like 10 minutes.
Those. Yeah.
You're not going to get hurt if it's like
no. If you watch
6 versus like 3 versus 3, that's 8 minutes long. Like any given person is going to be in there like a minute or 2.
No, if you watch like a New Japan house show, like the main guys, like back in the day, we'll say when Okada was still there, like he would work most of those shows, but like he would work like a 6-man, and he would come in, do his big spots, sell a little bit, and then he'd get out. Like he wasn't like like that was actually one of the things when New Japan World first came that people had to adjust to, is they're like, wow, they don't try as hard on the house shows. Like, no, they don't.
No, they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think the problem
you want Wrestle Universe where Okada has like a 45-minute epic with Naito, where they beat the shit out of each other's bodies. It's like, okay, well then you got to accept that for like a month straight, he's going to have he's going to be in 6-mans on a house show circuit, and he's going to put in like 2 minutes of work. Like that's how, again, wrestling's not real. It's not a real like fight or sport, but you also can't, some of the stuff that they do, like they beat the shit out of their bodies. Like there are wrestlers who like age 50, they can't walk.
And the other thing is with running too many shows is like he's more like a Wave right now. Mm-hmm. Like Wave isn't trying to run like 9 shows in a month. Like I think this year he's smartened up and he's running more like 5 or 6 right now. We'll see if he amps that back up as he goes. But I think like that's a more appropriate number for Marigold.
Yeah.
But like, because Stardom has a massive roster, they have a lot of money behind them. It was a bad idea. So we're gonna do Starlight Kid next. So we did 2 Starlight Kid matches.
As an aside, before we get to that, I would have to see what Stardom is doing, but I almost feel like they are doing better than they ever have, or
they did pretty good last year.
They've been in maybe just under New Japan for like best, like in terms of like attendance and popularity. They might not have surpassed in the tops of the promotions.
I don't think that I think they're third. I think they upended DDT, but I don't think they've upended Dragon Gate yet. But Dragon Gate's like its own thing. I am wondering what this year's going to be, because that Tam thing kind of upset a lot of people.
Where she was forced to leave Stardom.
Well, so it was like it was like when they did that weird like stipulation thing, and I think that kind of upset some people. I think that might have. I think that might have, when she announced she's going to freelance, I think that might have smoothed it over. But there was some. That was like the first time I've seen like concentrated complaining about Stardom. But I also think. Yeah. I also think what hurt Marigold is Stardom got better after it settled down after Rossi left, and I think people realized like because we'll get to her, but like, oh, like, oh, look, they're suddenly like pushing Azumi and Starlight Kid up the card after Rossi just refused to like do anything with them with upward mobility for years.
Well, how long was Saya the white belt champion?
Forever.
Now she's red belt.
Yeah.
But yeah, forever. So it's like now she's finally, and I do think that the heel turn for her did I think elevate her to that was like the thing she needed.
And I think I'm gonna give some fairness to Rossi here. As much as I think he's a foolish old man, like his booking has been good, but I think they were at a point where they just needed a different voice. I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand about it, and I think is why Stardom benefited ultimately is they just needed a different voice, a different hand at the wheel, and I think that's why they're benefiting so much.
Look, it's been talked about a lot in the last couple of days because some people are looking at the booking for this year's WrestleMania and how Raw and SmackDown have been booked recently, and there's a lot of chatter that's building, saying like, "Oh, Triple H has lost it," which is like I'm of the opinion y'all inflated Triple H's booking, like to an insane level. He wasn't ever that good.
No,
but yeah, to the extent that you could argue like, "Oh, has Triple H fallen off?" It's like, yeah, the pendulum. I actually do think the pendulum is swinging. Like Tony Khan is getting good again. Like a lot, whatever. But there's talk, and I think even people like Dave Meltzer brought this up, and I think there's some validity to it because you and I have watched wrestling for decades at this point. I've watched wrestling in some form for like 30 years. It's like it is cyclical, and they're cyclical in many ways, but it's cyclical and also in the sense that you can have a booker, and a booker can be really, really good for a while, but every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's like, okay, you may be good and hot and have great ideas, and then you kind of fall off.
Well, I think Bill Watts.
I think you can come back. But you may need a period where you got to refresh.
Bill Watts always changed his booker around, and he tended to say he thought bookers were about used up after 6 months.
I don't know if I would say that short, but I do think.
I think I have seen enough evidence to suggest 2 years seems to be about when you need to start getting some new voices in there, because I think that's kind of when, especially in WWE, like I think in a territory you might have had some more longevity because of the roster you could turn over easier. But I think like I'm gonna be semi fair to Triple H here before I shit on him. I think it's really hard to stay consistently good and come up with new interesting things when your roster is as static as the WWE's is. Like they need more roster turnover, and I think it's probably hard for him to, like it's hard to like use the same pieces in different ways. It's like, okay, well, they just had Kevin Owens work a program with Cody, and it's like, well, Kevin Owens always loses, so who cares? And I think that's a hard limitation. Now, where I think where he got into trouble as a booker though is he's not creative. He's not a very creative booker. Like he has some good logical consistency. Like he can get you from point A to point B to point C. It'll make sense. I think that's where he has I think that's where his strengths are, but like where I think he struggles is he has no flair. He has no like that's kind of the thing. Vince might not have made sense at times, but Vince had that like that finger on like the unique and the awesome and like the flash, and Triple H doesn't have that.
Yeah, I will hands down say that Triple H is a better and a worse booker than Vince. He's better in the sense that he is oftentimes more logical. Like you said, he's more logically consistent, but he's worse than Vince in the sense that he can be boring as shit and very like vanilla almost.
I also think
where Vince will throw like 100 things against the wall to see what sticks, and some of the stuff will be absolutely captivating. But that's maybe if 100 things, like maybe 5 things will be captivating, and they're really, really good, like legendary stuff. Like you'll remember it like 10 years down the road. But the other 95, like of the 95, like maybe another like 15 of those things may be like decent, and then you have like 80% of it being just garbage. Like, what is this?
And he and Tony
But
actually have he and Tony have the same flaw in that they get too married to their plans and won't deviate. Like Tony's a little better about pulling the trigger on stuff, but like Triple H and Tony will do this too. Like I think this is a shared problem they have is they will just absolutely squander a moment of time where someone gets hot because it didn't fit into their plans. Tony's a little more willing to latch on if someone catches fire, but he'll do it too. But like Triple H will just squander someone if like it interferes with his plans.
We've talked about it on the show. I've talked about it. That's the thing that I would say his number one to me frustrating thing about Tony Khan is that he'll have an idea to do a storyline or something, and it may be good or maybe not great, but or it may just be okay. But you can kind of see where he wants to go, and that can be fine. But then something will happen. Meaning like the brochacho is a great example. It's like, okay, it's clear that what you were planning to do is Adam Cole turns on MJF and then wins the title. Okay, but then Adam Cole gets hurt badly to the point where he's on the shelf like a year or the better part of it. And so then you got it like your whole storyline gets thrown off, and it's like you don't want to deviate. And it takes like weeks to months for you to change gears, and it's like, it's unfortunate. You had a great idea, just move on. And because they still had that storyline when Adam Cole came back, they still had to do like the Adam Cole MJF feud again. But thankfully, they had like one match and then it was over. So it's like, okay,
and you're seeing it with the Death Riders right now. You're seeing the same thing. Like it's not working, and he really
it's not. Yeah, it's not working. It seems like your vision, I don't know for real, no one knows for sure, but it seems like your vision was, okay, we'll have Darby come and dethrone Mox and be the champion, but then Darby goes and it's like, I want to climb Mount Everest, so he's going to be gone for like
months,
who knows how long, months. So then you're just continuing on with Death Riders, and I don't like Death Riders. I've argued in the show, it's like you should just move on. But
I mean, I think I'm the biggest. I think I'm the biggest hater of it, like of the Death Riders on the show. You hate it too. I think Shad's afraid to admit he hates it. I despise it.
I don't think we like it. I guess in fairness is that you can say like, well, that has not specifically tanked ratings.
No, but I think ratings would be. I don't think it's helped ratings. I don't
think it helped, and I don't. I think really want them.
I think
to continue it.
I think it's amazing that they're doing better despite that angle.
I don't think you just have Mox have the title.
I think they honestly
until whenever Darby comes back. Like I think think you should basically have Mox drop it to Swerve at Dynasty, have Swerve be the champion, and just go from there. You can have.
I also think ratings are. I also think ratings are up because Kenny's back, because he's their biggest star.
Maybe he's gonna have a match tomorrow against Blake Christian.
I also think.
So we'll see.
I also think they should be writing Will Ospreay a bonus check for like dragging good shit like on TV out of feuds repeatedly and like making their TV better. Like I don't like his matches, but like, dear God, does he know how to? Is he over with their crowds? But like
we should really make an endeavor to get Trish and/or Sarah from the Trish and Sarah podcast on the show, because I'm sure they would just endlessly talk about how the champion should be either Will Ospreay or Hangman Page. So it's like, at this point, I would hard to argue like they would not be. I don't put the title on them versus continue it on Mox. But
I've said repeatedly on the show, to everyone's annoyance, that I would have just hot-shotted it back onto Kenny because he's your biggest star, and like
I wouldn't necessarily do that, but I think you should put the title on Omega. And I've argued on this show before that I love him. He's probably in ring. He's probably the greatest of all time. My personal favorite, me and Shad, our favorite greatest of all time might be Sting, but Kenny is probably like the best who's ever done it.
It'd be between him and Flair. Like, I mean,
yeah,
because we've seen
and
I would still say Kenny's the GOAT, but goddamn that second Flair Wyndham match from Worldwide was like just a masterpiece.
That's such an example of, and I'm in the moment where it's like there's a lot of real life Ric Flair, Richard Flair, whatever that color me on it, but I have to. It does bring me back to where it's like Flair was considered the best of all time for many years, and it does make me pause and think like, him or Kenny Omega. Like Flair was so good. It's so good.
Because the thing with, and Omega does it too, but the thing that gets me with Flair is we've done random stuff like the Coco Ware match we did. Like you'll watch some match you've not seen of him before, it'll just be like, God damn, this motherfucker like just finds new ways to astound me every time like we watch this stuff.
Because it's things that he'll do that it's almost like you blink and you miss it, but like subtle things that he'll do, and it's like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna move this way to get to, and it'll be because he's trying to elicit a reaction from the crowd, or he's trying to make his opponent look good, or it's all these like things that it's like, this is another level. It's one thing anyone can paint a picture. It's another thing to paint like, this is a Rembrandt photo where it's like the level of detail or whatever. Like he is on a different level, and Omega is in that same boat. And I've argued on the show because Omega, God love him, he's the GOAT in my opinion, but he's getting older and he has had a couple big health issues in the last like couple of years, where of the last like 3-4 years he's been on the shelf for like a year stretch.
And the stupid thing is he comes back from missing like a year and a half. Doesn't even look like he's missed a step.
No, and there's some people argued like, oh, he's on the decline, and it's like, if this is decline, he's still better than everyone. So
I mean,
that's how on a different level he is. But
I mean, the thing is,
if he is on the decline,
he's working around it.
You need to maximize.
Well, so here's my reasoning for it, because we talk about it before, the special little guy syndrome.
Yeah.
And so I think someone watching this might say like, oh, he's your special little guy. Like, no, my reasoning why you hotshot it to Kenny Omega was, business has been down and it's rebounding a bit, but I think we can say objectively, based on ratings and like his absences and how ratings do, he is objectively your biggest star. And when business is at this point, I think the idea is you put your belt on your biggest star when your business needs to rebound, which is Kenny. And that is my whole reasoning behind it, is just a numbers game of Kenny Omega is the biggest star. The Death Riders aren't working. Put the belt on Kenny and just kind of go from there. Even if he only has it for a couple of months and like were to lose it, but that's my reasoning behind it.
I guess maybe I'm thinking like old school, but I would be like, no, you should build Kenny up to win it, but you should put the title on him, because this may be like that would potentially be the last run, because he's still greatest of all time. But if he is on the decline, like you should get another big reign out of him, because he may not have that much more in the tank, or he does, but maybe he'll move to like, I'm gonna do like part-time. But I think if I was booking this, fantasy booking it, maybe you have like someone like Will Ospreay win the Owen Cup and he challenges Mox for the title. I think you should move the title off Mox ASAP. But
so my problem with Ospreay challenging, this is just my problem with Ospreay challenges, and why I will always push back when people say he should challenge. Ospreay, if Ospreay challenges for the world title, he could not lose the match. Like, you cannot book that match unless you're putting the title on him, because it will. Well, I'm saying this, if like anyone from AEW were to ever see this, if he loses a world title challenge, you will kill his star power in some way that he will never regain.
So I agree. But this is what I would do. again, you and I don't like the Death Rider stuff. I don't want to keep the title on Mox longer than it's already like too long. He should have
No,
lost it at like
he should have
Revolution.
lost it to. I would have. I would have.
I wouldn't.
I would have put it on Powerhouse, even if it was for like a week. I would.
Maybe.
That's what I mean. I just.
I if I were fantasy booking, which I know we don't like to do, it's problematic. But if I was fantasy booking, I, as much as I love Swerve, I would maybe not put the title on Swerve. I would have Osprey win the title, and meanwhile, you're doing, whether they've announced it or not, but you're doing Kenny versus Okada at All In. Have Kenny beat Okada. Osprey wins the title, the world title, from Mox. He has the title for a while, and you build towards Kenny versus Osprey for the world title. Omega wins. So you had Osprey like have the title. He's won the title. He's held it for like 2-3 months. You have Omega win, and then you have Omega have a good long reign, 4 months, and then meanwhile you slowly are building Osprey back, and then they have a rematch, and then Osprey wins the title again, and then holds it for a decent amount of time. But that's maybe how I would fantasy book it, where you establish Osprey. The problem there, of course, is like AEW has an embarrassment of riches, and that you have at least two of the guys. Well, let's say you have multiple guys. You have Swerve, who like you believably put him on the title, but this scenario, I'm like, you'd ice him out of the world title for like a year or longer. You have Hangman Page, who really should get the title again. Like you need that guy should be like your guy. I think you have MJF, who should also be in the mix again.
I think
Okada should probably win your title at some point. Like you have so many guys.
I think I'd do the opposite of you. I would have Omega win it, do Omega and Okada for the world title at All In, and then I would do something secondary to build Osprey up, like maybe like Osprey, Page, or something like that. Something to build him up. Maybe Takashita. And then what I would do is maybe go to like Revolution and have Osprey beat Omega.
Maybe. As an aside, like, is there a guy? There are people who online who grumble. I've seen like they grumble about how Takeshita's booking. I can get frustrated. I can see getting frustrated with that. But outside of someone like, obviously like Kyle Fletcher, whose stock has like fantastically risen in the company, Takeshita is well protected, and is there a guy who like is not? He's doing well because what was it within the last like couple months? He just announced like, oh, I've also signed a contract with New Japan.
Yeah,
that's a dude. It's like if he does not continue with AEW, he'll go right back to New Japan, and instantly like if he's not the world champion, he will be one of, if not the biggest star in New Japan.
New Japan,
like that guy's set.
New Japan would be frothing at the mouth to have
that guy's
have
set.
Anyone with star power on the top of their card right now.
Oh,
because they're a disaster. So
they have improved. They have improved.
Like are they? I was thinking that, and then this last month of shows have just been abysmal.
The problem with them is that they were counting on this younger group who they've been developing for years,
and none of them have turned out.
Yota Tsuji I still think is probably like the tops of it, and there's something off with him where he still doesn't like
just doesn't connect. Yeah, he's just not connecting.
It's for people who don't have the reference, it's like, how do you compare that to in like an American company like AEW or WWE? It's like
it's kind of like the early kind of pushes of Roman Reigns, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Like
maybe.
Maybe kind of like when Seth Rollins, when they put the belt on it, like the world title on him, and it just kind of like he just doesn't. Yeah, he just doesn't have some. He's just not gonna be a top. He's not gonna be your ace guy. He just doesn't have some.
I like him, so this is not a critique of him, but maybe it's like what you have like a Daniel Garcia. It's like he's really good. I like him, But if tomorrow you put the world title on Daniel Garcia, would you be like,
I'd be
oh,
like,
it's great, like new era, or
I'd be
you'd
like,
be
oh,
like,
I'd be like,
I
oh
don't know about
shit.
that.
It'd be like, oh shit, this company's fucked if they have the belt on Daniel. Because I talk about that a lot. Like, there's those guys where it's like, I'm not meaning to shit on him, but like when ROH put the belt on like Jonathan Gresham, it was like, oh, this company's fucked. Because they're just guys like you could
I
like them, but like they're just not like
I don't think I
they're
don't think Yota
guys you can
Tsuji is like Jonathan Gresham
no,
level, but
but it's like they're guys that you can really like, and there's some guys like that. But like when they put like the top belt on, they're like, oh, they're in trouble because they like Brad Armstrong will be like a guy like this. I'll use a guy I actually like. Like if like WCW had put the world title on Brad Armstrong, it's like, oh, they're in deep shit
yeah.
if they're like reduced to this. And I love Brad Armstrong, but it's like that's kind of like the idea though. It's like, oh, they've been reduced to this mid Carter that should never be like a world champion, is a world champion. But so we're gonna get on to our Starlight Kid matches here. So we have two Starlight Kid matches. One actually is a like a one-off appearance for Pro Wrestling Wave, which I don't watch a ton of Pro Wrestling Wave. I see some stuff here and there. They're a very smallish promotion. And then this is first is it was it Hakuna? Haruna?
Oh, for Wave?
Yeah, who did she wrestle?
It was Kohaku.
Kohaku. So this is kind of just an extended squash match. It's pretty much just kind of highlights Starlight Kid. She kind of just mauls Hakuna in this.
Yeah, there's an interesting like viciousness from her, like where she's just working the leg, and she did some stuff which again, like you don't always see this, but I thought it was really good. It's just like you're like grinding into the leg, because again, if you watch a lot of pro wrestling like we have, like you can see it's like, oh, I'm gonna work the leg, whatever. It's like, I got your leg, I'm twisting it, whatever. It's another thing to be like, I got your leg down, and it's like, I'm gonna take the point of my elbow and just like grind your knee. And it's like they're like obviously
the move she finished
her
with, where she kind of did like she started kind of as a stretch muffler and just kind of then like wrapped her into a pretzel.
Oh yeah, so she I actually wrote in my notes here. It's like she's probably the smallest wrestler because she's not very. Starlight Kid is small. Like she's not very big.
Now, if you saw her when she was younger, she was a lot smaller. Like she's filled out. Like because she like looked really skinny and like not credible, and she's like bulked up enough that like she's a credible threat to anyone because she's
in good shape, but she's also, I mean, I'm not trying to make like a sexist comment about it because she's a woman, but it's like she's still probably like if I had to look it up, I'm sure her height's like 5'3", 5'4".
She's taller
and that's fair because
she's taller than
there's
some
a lot
of
of women
TJPW
like
girls.
Really?
Because like because if you look at the heights, there's several of the TJPW girls that are under 5 feet.
Well, like Shoko Nakajimi is
4'11",
4'9". Oh, she's that tall. I thought she was
and
smaller,
like
but...
Neko is like I think 4'9".
Well, I mean,
I'd peg Starlight at 5'1". Are you looking it up?
I'm looking this up.
I'm gonna say 5'1". Maybe 5'2".
So, well, if it's true or not, Cage Match has her height listed at 4'11", which I'm not sure if that's true or not. But
she seems taller than that because like I've never seen her and Shoko together, but she seems taller than Shoko.
I wouldn't put her at 4'11". I could see her at like 5'2", 5'3", but she's shorter. Like, look, my wife is like 5'6". That's average height, I think, for a woman.
5'4",
if you're like
5'4", 5'3" and a half, I think is average for a woman.
Maybe, but if you're like 5, I think like Lady C in Stardom is like 5'10", 5'11", and she's basically almost like a giant compared to a lot of those girls. So it's like she's not a giant. Like she's
is like Oh, I'm sorry, I can't think tonight. The one Kafuki like
Yuki
Kamafuka. Yeah, Yuki
Yuki
Kamafuki is
Kamifuki.
like 5'8", and she's big in TJPW.
She's very tall and lean. Like
Yeah,
but she seems like she almost like towers over, and it's like
and
you're not
she's
that
5'8".
tall, but
Yeah.
yeah, but you're tall for like a woman, I
Well,
guess. Which is again not making a sexist comment, but I
and
mean, like some people are.
we just talked about that with Charlotte and why Charlotte's hard to take as a face because she's not sympathetic, and we looked it up and I think she's 5'10" or 5'11",
Yeah,
and like
you're not like the plucky baby face
yeah,
because you're not
and she's instantly
small.
big, like, and she's like very built, and so like it's hard to have sympathy for her because she's automatically at a obvious visual physical advantage over whoever she's wrestling.
Right. Again, I don't know if Starlight is that small, but she's still like little, kind of.
But she's not like I want to say she is shorter, but she's like when you look at her height really doesn't matter to you because she is built like she looks like she could handle herself. I should say she's not like.
Well, we'll get to that because actually I think she showed me some interesting things in the next match. But in this match, I wrote in my notes like she's probably like the smallest wrestler I've ever seen use a stretch muffler to like amazing effect. Like she that's like one of her signature holds, and she does it really well. But in this one, it was actually really fantastic because she made a legit finisher because she did like just twist this girl into pretzels. Like it's like she did the stretch muffler, she wasn't getting the
Then she kind of like locked
submission.
her face.
Yeah, locked her face like using like her legs and everything, and then like it looked legit painful. Like if a male wrestler were to use this and then lock it in the way she did, it'd be like, oh yeah, like that would instantly be sold as like a legit finisher.
And this one is on the Pro Wrestling Wave YouTube channel. This happened in like December of 2023. They just posted it a couple months ago for some reason, but it is funny to note. Starlight Kid's match did like way more. It did way better than a lot of the stuff they post because Starlight Kid is a draw. Like the video on Stardom's YouTube page of her getting unmasked did like, I don't know, like 3 million views.
I'm a fan of Starlight Kid. She is fascinating in the sense that she's very good. She's a very good worker. So there is absolutely that.
She's very unique gimmick wise. Like there's something she has an aura. There's an aura about her.
She has an aura.
There's like a hint of mystery there. She's kind of menacing. I really loved her gimmick that she doesn't quite do now, where she used to have like the masks of people she'd vanquished on her belt.
Yeah, she's not really a heel now, so she doesn't really do that. But yeah, like I've talked about her before on the show. She, to me, has a little bit of like an old school like Rey Mysterio vibe to her. She's a mask wrestler, obviously. It's almost like a tiger mask type of mask. Sky Tiger is kind of like the thing. But she's a mask wrestler, and it's like I actually don't think that she should ever lose the mask because I think the mask adds to the aura and adds to the gimmick, and I think really is super marketable and it adds to her being unique. So I don't think she ever should lose it. I think like you should just continue on with this like her entire career. Like it's the thing. Much like Rey Mysterio, he lost the mask obviously in WCW, but it's like when he's back in WWE,
Eric Bischoff's a dumb
yeah. But I mean, he gets the mask back in WWE, and it's like just run with the mask. Like that's it. Like it's iconic. I think her mask and everything about her. It's like if she continues on with wrestling, which why not? Like she is posed to become a big star. I think in the next few years in Stardom and in the Joshi world.
I think because like
continue on.
Because like when Juventud lost his mask, I think it worked for him because he had a good look without the mask.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know what Starlight looks like under it. Even if she's like attractive or has a good look, I just think the mask adds so much. It's like
it adds a lot of aura.
Because like I mean, it could end up like with Rey Mysterio where he looks like he's 12 without the mask on, and it kind of kills him. But I kind of agree she shouldn't lose it. Like um, there's just more to lose than gain by doing it.
Well,
Maybe
again, I think
maybe
it's also
I might if I was booking this long term, which I wouldn't. I might like if she's like, hey, I want to do my last match. I might unmask her on her last match.
yeah. If she's like retiring, it's like you could do that.
Yeah.
Um, and she could use that to build someone else up where it's like math career versus whatever. Uh, but she's been I guess she's been doing it since she was probably like what 16
Something like that.
and
Yeah, because well, she might have been like 15. I'm trying to remember when I was watching early Stardom in like 2016. I think is when I started watching, and her because Azumi was 13. I think when she was a student, and they had her doing some
Azumi's
stuff. But
Azumi's
Starlight,
like a little bit younger than
but
her.
but but when I was watching that, so Azumi was like 13 and doing undercard, but um Starlight was a little older and was more like jobbing in singles matches to like bigger stars. So she must have been like 15 or 16 at the time.
Starlight,
Cuz she was more on the
uh,
level of like she was like right under the level of like Momo and Jungle
yeah.
when I first started watching. So she would have probably been 15 or 16 cuz I think Momo was 16 and I think Jungle was probably the oldest of them, but I don't remember how old.
Jungle
Jungle Kiona.
Jungle Jungle Kiona today. I mean, she hasn't really worked in like a few
No,
years. Like she's had
she retired,
injuries.
yeah, due to injury.
I don't know that I don't know
which
that she's officially retired, but she's basically retired because
which is a
she's had
shame
bad knee.
because she's gonna get forgotten to time because Stardom exploded after her. But I think there's a legit argument that she was the best worker of that whole lot.
She was really good, and she's someone that if she had not had injuries, like if she had been working, like you would know her name in professional wrestling right now
Yeah,
because she was very good. But she in today's day and age, like she is like 32, 33. She's young
yeah,
in the grand scheme of life. Like she's young. She's not even like it's not like oh she's 40 like retiring. It's like she's relatively young, but she hasn't worked in like
4 years. I
three,
think.
4 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, because she has had really bad knee injuries, and it's like knee injuries, so that's like you're not gonna step foot in a wrestling ring because your
yeah,
mobility would be.
and some people can bounce back from those, and some people can't. And I think I honestly think she just was like, I don't want to be immobile. But yeah, I would say she was probably. That's tough though because that group like that group because I think it was kind of her, Momo, and Starlight, and then Azumi was under them because Azumi was doing like student matches, and then like
Yeah,
Jungle and Momo were working higher up the card but losing most of their matches, and then Starlight was working lower on the card and losing her matches because there's a whole progression
yeah.
in Joshi. So
Momo is obviously still a big star. Just wrestled Mercedes Monet, but Momo is not old either. She's like
no, she
24,
yeah,
25
and
maybe.
also Rossi was squandering her.
Well, yeah. But Starlight is posed to become a big star, but she's still really young too. She's like 22, 23, I think. She's early
Yeah,
20s.
yeah.
Like
She's so,
I don't think she's even 24. Like I think 23 the oldest.
but she's
And
also like, she feels like someone that's hit her like stride and is like at her peak though as a worker. Whereas I think Momo isn't quite at her peak. Like I think Momo could do like, but there's something like Starlight just feels like she's like just clicking on all cylinders. And I
the
think
thing about
she gets good responses. Like I said, her unmasking thing that the Stardom YouTube posted got like a ton of views.
oh yeah. She's an interesting in wrestling you want like dynamic characters and characters that have like an intrigue and an aura or something that's fascinating about them. And I do think that the mask contributes to that. But she's just a good worker regardless. Look, we can call the wave match kind of extended squash. But one of the things I noted in my notes was that she something about her, and she was was the high speed champion. Um, she was the high speed champion for a while. We saw the
Yeah, 'cause
match.
I think we
We
watched
reviewed the
Suzumi
match.
beat her for it.
Yeah, but there is a quickness to her offense that is fantastic. I mean, there's criticisms. Obviously, it's like, oh, some of the stuff's choreographed, and it's like you can see, it's like, yeah, that sequence was like obviously practiced, but
I think she's
it's
pretty
also
good at.
so rapid. It's so rapid. It's like even if I'm like, okay, we're gonna choreograph this like 30-second sequence. It's like you're doing this at a really fast level. So if you choreograph this, just remembering this and then executing it perfectly, I try to do like Orange Theory fitness, like a high intensity workout. Some of the stuff it's like they're not even doing like intense. It's like, oh, do these like lunge squats or do these like reverse. It's like, look, I'm gonna do this on my own level. Like I can do this. I'm gonna do like I'll do 10 of these in like a minute. Okay, just bear with these people. Like she's going back and forth quickly in like 30 seconds. She did like 20 moves in 20 seconds. It's like it's like a ping pong match. You're like watching her do all this stuff.
But she's
There
pretty. I
is a
think she
super quickness to her
masks.
offense.
I think she masks the choreography aspect of it like a little better than some other people do.
Most of her stuff is not choreographed though, but I
Yeah.
mean some stuff it's like I can see the high speed stuff or like some of the high speed sequences. It's like okay, like maybe that was
She has a little
choreographed.
friction
But
in her stuff though that I think helps with that. Like where I have a problem with like the super choreographed stuff is when it's like too smooth and like too like we talked like Chad and I talked about this. You need some grime and like friction in there to make things
yeah,
believable. So then the second match with her. So this is from the 5-star Grand Prix. Was this from 2014 or was 2024 or 2023?
oh 2022, August
Okay.
27th, 2022.
Okay. So this
So
is her
almost
versus
3 years ago.
yeah. So this is her versus Julia. So what I did like about the start of this match, so Julia kind of starts beating everyone up on the outside, and while she's beating up on
Mhm.
the young girls, um, Starlight just grabs a chair and just smacks the crap out of her with it.
So
And
I think Starlight Kid was with Odotai, like she was
yeah,
healed during this. I think, yeah.
because this would have been the same year as the Uzumi match, I'm pretty sure, for the high
I
speed.
think so.
But this match, so I kind of came to a conclusion watching this match, and I was just like, Julia just does not resonate with me on some level. Like, she's a very good worker. I'm not, like, there's a thing, like, when I watch Dynamite Kid, like, I recognize Dynamite Kid is very good, the matches are very good, but there's just something, like, on a personal level where he just does not resonate with me. Because, like, I think, like, when I watched Dynamite Kid stuff when we did the show, I was like, oh, I like Tiger Mask. Oh, I like Bret Hart. Oh, I like who he's, like, a lot of times it's like, oh, I like who he's wrestling. Or it's like, oh, Rollerball, Rollerball Mark
Mark
Rocco.
Rocco.
Yeah, it's like, I love him. But then it's like, but Dynamite Kid's having these good matches with them, but it's like, you kind of get drawn to their opponent. And Julia's kind of like the same way. And I've noticed, like, in the NXT stuff, like, I kind of feel like, as much as she gets hyped up, I kind of feel like Vakir has landed a little better than she has. Because, like, she resonates. Like, when you watch
I
Vakir
would
do stuff, even in NXT, like, Vakir, I'm interested in. Like, she really resonates with me, like, on a level that Julia just seems to miss with me.
so I like Julie a lot. Um the joke that I've told other Brad before is like I like which is not really a joke, but I probably like Stephanie Vacker. Sorry, I like Julia more than I like Tam Nakano.
Hmm.
Um, but I can see where there's a disconnect, and I generally feel like Stephanie Vacker is. I think she's a better total package than Julia is. I like Julia. I think Julia has a great look, a great aura about her. She comes off like a star. I think she can be really a good worker and can be intense. But I can see like sometimes even for me, like as a fan, there can be a disconnect, and this match
Is where
was a is I could see the disconnect, and it was a disconnect to me even as a fan.
because I was watching this and
Of
I'm like, this is good, but there's like okay, so I think that I would probably if I was to star this, which we don't do a lot, I'd probably say this is like 3 3/4 stars.
I would
Is
agree.
and
I actually think this is a good match,
but there's
and
something,
I
but it should have, but I think my problem is it should have been a great match. Like it should have been like 4.5 stars because they had all the workings there, but something wasn't working, and I think it was Julia that wasn't working for me in this.
I absolutely agree, because I can say as a Julia fan, there was something off, and it was from her end where I don't know how to quantify it other than it's almost like girl, you're trying too hard. Like she came off because it starts off violent and she's attacking Starlight Kid and she rips Starlight Kid's mask to the point where Starlight was able to fix it, but I was almost like, oh my god, are you gonna like half expose this girl's face? Because Starlight, the lower
She got
half
her
of her
like she got
face
her
is like
like
exposed.
she got her like kind of right, like
More like up at like the hairline of
like
the
where you
temple.
would kind of where you would attack a mask early in a
Yeah,
match so it wouldn't come off. It's
yeah,
kind of like not like if you watch Halloween Havoc '97, Eddie kind of went for the eye hole on Ray, so like part
yeah,
of his face, but she kind of went high where it wouldn't come off, and like Starlight, essentially what Starlight did is just pulled her hair through to
yeah.
kind of.
Yeah. But it started off very violent, and then that set the course for things. But it was almost, to me, it's like, Julia, you're trying too hard to sell. Like I'm rough, I'm tough, like I'm violent, like I'm
Yeah, and
the
I agree
meanest
with that
bitch on the planet.
because there
It,
was
it just is like it was a disconnect. It's like it's I don't need to see like the over the top stuff.
it felt like she was taking away from the danger of the match. Like Starlight was doing a lot of cool stuff and they're doing near falls, but like the way Julia was like selling it to me, I'm like, you're not really selling that like you're on the verge of like losing. She did a couple of times in the end. And I also thought I fucking hated the end of this. Just as an FYI. But because it was just out of nowhere and like didn't feel like she earned the pinfall there.
Yeah, it felt a little again, I like
It
Julia,
felt
but
like
it
they were
almost
like,
felt
"Oh shit, we ran out. We're 2 minutes over. Like, do the end now." It was kind of like, it didn't work for me because she kind of roll. They're kind of doing this like one. They're kind of doing this end run, but the problem with it is like, Julie kind of rolls her up out of nowhere and gets the pin. But the problem with it is like, Starlight Kid was kicking her ass like when it happened. So like she really hadn't like
yeah.
done much damage to her in that like end run to like really earn the pinfall. It just it felt really, it didn't feel like it fit with it, but I also feel like I said, like Julia kind of wasn't selling me the danger because I was just kind of sitting there like, this is good, but like I'm just waiting for Julia to win because she's
Yeah,
not really.
again, I'm a Julia fan, but if it there was a couple points in this where it's like, oh, you seem like you're big leaguing her. It's like, we all know I'm going over. So, not that she was not selling or whatever, but it's like you did. I guess maybe part of the disconnect thinking about the match was that Starlight. I was actually super impressed with Starlight Kid's performance in this, because I've seen her have a lot of good matches, but this is, I can say, like Julia's kind of hyper violent stuff to me in this match was like a little bit, it's almost like you're trying too hard, but she was doing it, so it's like, okay, like you're doing it. But Starlight Kid, in my opinion, like in this match, like she was showing me stuff that I've not seen her. Like she's not busting at this stuff out or reacting this way in like an Azumi match. Like she was taking it to Julia and doing some really
And she was
fiery,
chaining her
cool shit.
offense really well.
Yeah, almost like she's for some, she's like Odo Tai, so she's doing like heel stuff. Well, I take that back. She is a heel, but you're almost like playing the face in this because
She was
like, yeah,
kind
it's
of
really violent.
well. I think that's part of the
Individual.
problem I had with the match is like the way it was going and their performances. Like I kind of started rooting for Starlight, even though she was kind of the heel at the beginning, because it was kind
She
of
was basically the underdog in this.
because she was really like she was taking it to her, like she was fighting like from underneath a lot. Like it
Yeah.
just she was more sympathetic. I think they might have kind of been going with that. But like I think maybe if it had a better ending, I don't know. They like I said, this is a very good match, and I was very like stuck on. I was very and it was like I wouldn't say I was disappointed in it. Like I thought it was going to be really good, and it wasn't as good as I was expecting, but not like bad enough to be a disappointment. But like there was just something in the ether of the match that like wasn't landing for me.
I thought it was a really good match, but there was that disconnect. And thinking about it as I'm looking through my notes and thinking about the match again, maybe it is like not that Julie was big leaguing, but there wasn't really like there wasn't a lot of drama. And it's like, well, what's the outcome of this match? It's gonna be Julia. She's the bigger star. It's like, okay, even going to this, it's like, okay, like I can get it. Like you're not gonna have Starlight
Maybe she
beat
was
Julia.
I'm gonna try and be fair to Julia here. Maybe she had a big match the night before and she was sore tired, or she had a big match the next day, like that she was gonna go long on, and maybe she was like conserving, or she was coming off of like this is the third match in 3 days or something. Like there could be some extenuating circumstances that I'll throw out there in the sense of fairness for like commentary, because I do try to be really fair to everyone when it comes to like this stuff. So I'll just throw that out there. But like I said, I'd say it's like 3 3/4. I would say, I would say on Starlight's part, I thought this was a really great performance. I liked her performance a little more in the other match, just on
Wave
like
match, interesting.
on not as in like the quality of the match, just on her like the stuff she did. I thought I liked a little better, but like she did some interesting stuff here, and I thought they were very good. They're very good counterbalances because she approached them very differently.
I feel like I like this one better, and that's maybe part of why I felt there was a disconnect because I was really impressed by her work in this Julia match. So she was to me more like the underdog, but you're like an underdog who you're not just like you're not the underdog where it's like, nah, I'm 90% of the match I'm getting my ass kicked. It's like she was giving it to Julia. And I don't feel like I have seen that level. I've seen her have many good matches. I've seen her have like really good high speed stuff. But in this, where it's like you're really like giving it
I
back
think
in like a
I think
crisp, like, violent way to Julia.
I think the
So I
difference
was impressed by that.
I think the difference it just popped in my head. I think the difference in her style here is she's working a more main event type of style than like an undercard like high speed match. So I think this is seeing a more developed her having to execute on a more developed higher caliber level and like coming through is what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. So we're gonna go to the main event here, which Dave Meltzer gave this 4.5 stars.
Oh, he actually rated this.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is from the Grand Princess 2024. This is Miyu Yamashita defending the Princess of Princess Championship against Miu Watanabe. And I'm gonna say we did Joshi because Shad wasn't gonna be here, and I was pissed off because I wanted him to see the comedy match, and I wanted him to see this match after watching it because this match is great. Like this is like
It's a
shockingly hard hitting.
this is a I thought this was a fantastic match. Um I like I think it's Miu Watanabe. Um I'm a fan of hers. I've seen her well basically since I started watching Tokyo Joshi Pro like last 2 3 years. So I've seen her kind of elevate to the point where she She wins the title, which is what happens here. Like this might be the best match I've seen her in.
It might be
And
the
I don't.
best.
This is not like
It might be the best
this is.
TJPW match I've ever seen. It'd be up there.
I don't know if I would say that, but I've. It's really good.
Because there's a lot of interesting elements to this because it's her finally rising to the occasion and winning, but there's also some interesting stuff on Yamashita's part because Yamashita is in this rare position where not only can someone take the punishment she's dishing out, but they're actually giving it back to her almost as much because the thing you have to understand about Miyu is she is ridiculously strong. She's on the thumbnail for this episode. Don't judge her by her appearance. She is super strong, and it comes out a lot in this. But what I like about her is she does like the double axe handle hits on Yamashita.
So yeah, I actually wrote that in my notes. Like, so if you've never seen Miu Watanabe, Cage Match lists her at 5'3", and she's a petite girl. Like I don't know.
She's put on some. So I will say the thing is, since she got the belt and stuff, if you look at her this year, even versus last year, she hasn't bulked up, but you could tell she's been like doing like some gym stuff because she's toned up.
Yes, they even have a whole point in this match for the commentary was like, oh, she wants to like her goal, her dream in life was to become a Japanese idol because idol culture is very big in Japan.
Yeah.
So she intentionally has not bulked up because she still wants to be small and cute to become an idol. So the commentators were giving this whole spiel about how like, oh, she would go to the gym and cry because it's like she needs to work out to be like good at pro wrestling, but she doesn't want to become big and bulky because she wants to be an idol. And it's like, okay, but regardless, it's like she is. If let's say that height is legit, 5'3", she's not even if she's bulked up, like she's not a big girl. She's still like petite. She's small.
Even
but she is ridiculously strong. Like my God, she is strong. Like in this match, she does stuff. It's like, okay, well, she's doing it to another woman, but she has appeared on like
but Yamashita is not Yamashita is built like an athlete, so she's not a petite like tiny.
She's not Mizuki, who's like maybe 90 pounds.
No, like wet. She head kicks people and she looks like she could kick someone's head off. Like she's.
Oh yeah, she looks like she could probably take grown men like without
like
too much difficulty.
She's not like she's an athlete. So like she's like when I say she's not petite, I mean she's built. She's got some size to her. Like she's built like an athlete. She's built like a fighter. When you see her in a wrestling ring, like you believe that she's a wrestler.
Yeah. But Miu Watanabe, she's done like I don't know if it's like game shows or TV shows or whatever, but like, she's like done like they've had her do almost like it's almost like comedy, but it's like she's appeared on talk shows, whatever. And it's like, oh, like chop this grown man, and she's like, okay, and like she'll chop them, whatever, like that. And the grown men are like, like acting like their chest was caved in, and I don't think they're acting. She seems like she is legitimately.
No, I've seen like she's like big swing like two people at once, and I know there's like cooperative stuff on that, but like
what she's done videos on like TikTok or whatever, because I guess like Tokyo Joshi Pro is like a TikTok, which I don't have TikTok, but I mean,
yeah, I don't.
I've seen them. I've seen a post.
I don't mess with that double app, so.
Yeah, I don't. The Chinese spyware. I don't deal with all that.
But I don't get it, and this is not like I just think it's incredibly damaging for that like fast, like snappy content for people's attention span. So I kind of just avoid it.
Yeah,
And I think I
but
also like whenever I see someone watching it, like the people on there are like super toxic. So, and I mean, I don't do like,
yeah,
I really don't do any like social media or anything. Like, I talk to my friends on Discord and I talk to these guys on Facebook. That's really all I do anymore because I just find the internet, especially the last 6 months, I just find everyone on the internet to be like incredibly toxic and not worth my time anymore.
yeah. But the Tokyo Joshi Pro TikTok stuff is actually kind of wholesome.
Oh,
Uh,
I bet it
I've
is.
seen I've seen some of the videos, and one of the things that I've seen that she has posted, which I think is like really, it's clever because it's like cute and funny. That is, she'll do like dancing videos because again, she's trying to be an idol, but she'll do it where it's like she'll do like dancing routines or whatever, but like with weights, and she'll be like doing dance moves and with like weights, and she like maybe like doing like the routines with weights, and it's like she'll do stuff and look, I'm a grown man. Even doing like some of these elaborate dances, holding like just say you're holding like 10-pound weights, which aren't terribly, but doing some of these elaborate dance moves with 10-pound weights, it's like that's actually kind of hard. So let's say that's pretty clever and pretty impressive if you're just doing like these impressive calisthenic dance exercises with weight. She's an impressively strong young
Yeah.
woman.
And so this match is kind of a battle of attrition when you get down to it. But there's a couple spots I really like. So there's a point where uh Mayu does she's gonna do the big swing. And she's
Mm,
kind of leaning over and Yamashita goes for her hair because it's like she's got long hair. So
yeah.
Yamashita starts reaching for her hair, so Miyu just kind of goes like this and like you know swings her head back and gets her hair behind her, so she can't do it. She
Mm,
does a reverse big swing that was really cool, and then does like the actual big swing. She
mm,
sells the leg kicks from Yamashita really well. They do a big. They go to the top rope and kind of beat on each other, and she kind of does like the big like teardrop off the top,
yeah.
and she's like, and then Yamashita starts hitting her with these kind of big bombs that she kicks out of, and that's where you can kind of tell like Yamashita's a bit out of her element. She's taking all this stuff that I'm giving her, and she's hitting me with like really big moves in like return. Because like the point of this match is Yamashita's used to being able to bully people, and she can't quite bully Mayu because she's too strong.
Yeah. Uh, I thought Miu's selling in this is great. Um, I love her. So she does what I call double axe
It's
handles.
kind of what um Ivan Putski used to do.
Yeah, like Polish power.
Yeah.
Like so basically, hopefully you can see it. Like she'll like put her fists together like this, and she'll like instead of just doing like a forearm to the chest or a punch to the chest, whatever, she'll take like almost like a double axe handle and like hit her opponent on the chest, like with both hands, almost like a chop, but it's like a double axe handle. And I think the commentator called it like a softball blow or something, and that is Miu Watanabe's, I guess, background. Like she was a softball player. So that's like the gimmick is like softball blows. But I think it's a great visual. It actually makes her to me like stand out and unique because someone like let's say someone like Claudio, who like I'm gonna do the European uppercut, or back in the day like Lord Stephen Regal, Lord William Regal, like doing the European uppercut. It like makes you stand out. Yeah, I guess you get it back like Ric Flair. I'm gonna chop you.
Or
Like it makes you stand
I use
out
a
because
great one
her doing like that.
because I love it. Bob Armstrong, 'cause we did it on the show, doing the karate chops to people.
Yeah,
Like that really stood out to me. Or even Sting with his like the way I always like the way Sting kind of does the punch elbow combo.
oh yeah. Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Like I love. Yeah, that actually is fun. Um, I love her double axe handles. There was this great segment. Maybe right towards the middle of the match where yeah, Miyu Yamashita was like just kicking her, trying to bully her, and she does something, and it's like she doesn't move. I forget which move it was, but she doesn't move, and Miyu's like facing away from her, and she just like stands up and gets this like look on her face, and it's like nope, and it's like oh shit, she turned into like now it's overdrive time,
Yeah.
and the commentators even was like oh like basically like oh like Miu Watanabe is like kicked into gear, and that was a great like visual because it's like nope, like she's gonna like now she's like not that she didn't know sell offense, but she was just like all
It
right,
was
no, I'm gonna like
it
I'm serious
was
about this.
there's a moment in the match that kind of goes before that where it's like you can see her digging deep because she knows she has
Yeah,
to like she has to get like to the next gear or she can't win.
yeah.
Like it's that point where you see her like rising to the occasion.
Yeah, and again, she didn't no sell offense, but it was like it's the classic. You see a lot of it in Japanese wrestling, but it's the classic like I'm gonna fight through the punishing offense I'm getting to like to win the
Yeah.
match or get to the next level. Uh, a couple of the notes like uh Miu like broke out the Canadian backbreaker, and I just wrote in my notes is like the Canadian backbreaker is not used enough. It's underutilized in today's day and
That's
age.
she uses
We
that a
had a
lot. She uses that move a lot
She
actually.
does. We had a whole conversation though about how like a guy like Powerhouse Will Hobbs should be using like the torture rack dude should use the torture rack more as a finisher.
Actually, it's funny. Powerhouse Hobbs should actually watch her matches and start doing some of the stuff she does.
Oh, the Canadian backbreak where you just like flip your opponent on over their back and just like punish them.
Well, even like
Like
her
she used that.
where she lifts them up and drops them on her knee, like
Yeah.
even that or the tear. I love the teardrop suplex. Like that's she really
The
makes that
teardrop
look good.
suplex is really good. Yeah. There was another great spot towards the end where Himashita comes like towards the ropes and Miu busts out a beautiful Dustin Rhodes style like snap power slam
Oh
for like a
yeah,
two
because
count.
they were.
That was
I,
like I like five pop for that. I'm like yeah, Dustin Rhodes
she
power
did.
slam.
She did. I forgot about that because I popped for that too. I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
because it was kind. She was kind of imperiled at that point and kind of
yeah.
rebounded.
But in general, I love that Yamashita's like big move, the skull kick, and Miyu Watanabe just she kicked out, and it's like that was basically like the the signal to the end. It's like
That
oh
kind of
she kicked
broke.
out of
That kind of broke her
yeah that was like the big move you kicked out of it. So it's like
because she
that
had
point
been
you it's like oh shit you know what's gonna happen.
because
She's gonna
like
win.
because like what because she had hit a couple big ones before moves before that she kicked out and like she hit that and you
Mm.
could kind of just see like she sold like it kind of broke her in that moment and then that's kind of when the power slam comes in and then Mayu finishes her off like from there pretty quickly. So
Mm.
it's an interesting match. I kind of wish Shad could have seen it because I think he would have really connected with that one.
It was a really good match. I talked to you before like I think this may be Miyu Watanabe's best match that I've seen, and it's not as if it's like oh it's hard to find a good match from her. It's like no, she's had good matches. So
She's
when I say this
a she has
might
a
be the best match
stable.
of hers I've seen, yeah,
I would say with her like she has a very stable output, but I would say she doesn't have like a ton of like super high end matches like this. She has a lot of very good matches that she produces. Like I've
she's
never
a good.
not entertained by her, but like this is the first time I would say she's entered into like great territory.
No, this was a great match. This was obviously her winning the Princess of Princess title, the world their Tokyo Joshi Pro's like main title.
I love their belts too,
Uh,
just as an FYI. I love the TJPW belts. Like
yeah. Uh, I'm a big fan of Tokyo Joshi Pro, which is funny because like I'm more of a work rate guy, and that's clearly Stardom. Like Stardom has the best work rate, whereas Tokyo Joshi Pro is more of the two main Joshi promotions in Japan. Tokyo Joshi Pro is more of the sports entertainment
I think I
promotion, I
resonate.
guess.
I think I do better with TJPW for. I mean, Stardom is better, like work rate rise and stuff. But I think with TJPW, there's fewer shows. The roster's smaller. I tend to um, I like Stardom a lot. It's won my promotion of the year the last 2 out of 3 years, just FYI. So
Yeah.
I like it a lot. But TJPW just asks so much less of you sometimes. It's an easier like you have to really like you can turn your brain off and like enjoy TJPW if it's not a big show and
They do
like
sometimes they've done things that frustrate the hell out of me, but I feel
that's
in
been
the
two
last like
years
year,
ago for me. Like they've kind of gotten it together, and I think the other thing
yeah,
is
I agree. Like the last couple years, it's actually less frustrating. It's like, oh, okay, you're doing what I want you to do.
and I would say with Stardom, it's a small criticism. This is a very small criticism, but sometimes the stableness of Stardom can exhaust me a bit. I get tired of like because I get that way with AEW. So,
Actions.
yeah, I get that way with AEW sometimes. I get that way with New Japan. The only one that doesn't do that to me is Dragon Gate because that's the whole point. But like I get grumpy with too many stables sometimes.
Uh, I can get that. Dragon Gate's a great example to use because, and I think I don't mind that with Stardom because I think that it can make it unique
Yeah.
in that I think for Dragon Gate for sure,
Well,
but I also think Stardom
Dragon Gate is a
having
stable wars promotion. So like if you watch
yeah
Dragon Gate, like the characters are the stables and like the wrestlers turning face and heel is just going from one stable to the other. But like the
yeah
point of Dragon Gate is the stables.
yes, and I accept it. Would if you accept that premise, it's all
Yeah,
good.
and if you
Stardom,
can't handle
I kind of
if you can't handle that concept, then it's not for you because
yeah
Dragon Gate is all about the stables.
yeah, but I kind of a little bit view Stardom in that way too. So I guess I just accept that premise. So I I don't criticize it as much. Um,
And Stardom's kind of like going to see kind of like a high art film sometimes. Like you really got to make sure you're in the mood, like you're going to pay attention and stuff. And TJPW is kind of like a fun frolic through like I don't know, like a cartoon or something.
yeah, I I like it a lot, and it's hard to quantify because if you do you have really silly stuff in Tokyo Joshi
Like
Pro?
Reiko beating people with a pillow.
Yeah. But
And the
then
fact that she's a god.
she is, for those that don't know, Raku is God or a god,
Yeah.
who also loves trains and can make people fall asleep at will, or at her will. It's all very silly. It's all very silly. But it's fun and whimsical. But then you have the high level stuff where it's like this like Yamashita versus Miu Watanabe, and it's really fucking good. Uh, as an aside, like this, because I'm sure you've seen it. Like this match, I thought was great. Uh, and it was a good match, but the Miyu Watanabe match from I think January 4th, Tokyo Joshi Pro, where she lost the title to Mizuki. I thought it was a good match, but it's also like, especially now after seeing this, I saw the Mizuki match first, but after seeing this, it's like I like the Mizuki match, but I had issues because it's like I didn't believe Mizuki beating Watanabe.
I thought that was the second best match on that show because the Suzume title win, I thought that match was excellent.
That was a really good match. Yeah.
Like
Uh,
that one I thought was like a killer match on that show.
I well, as a to talk about that, I think that
I thought
I
all
don't
the
know if they'll
title
both.
matches on that show were good though.
So again, I will say I think that Tokyo Joshi Pro has in the last couple of years has not disappointed me, but so we'll see if they do it in 2025. But I think that we are we're at that level where you pull the trigger and maybe Mizuki drops the title to Yuki Arai because I feel like you're moving up.
I would say
I think that
I have a couple shows to catch up, but like based on what I expect from the big March show, I would say TJPW is in the lead for my promotion of the year 2025 so far.
oh wow, I'm still behind, so we'll see.
They have yet to have a bad show in my opinion from where I'm at, and the 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 big one in March I hear is really good, and if they deliver in Vegas like a good show like they did last time they came over here, like I think they're just gonna be. They just seem like they're firing right now.
I can see them getting really over with the show in Las Vegas. Mild controversy that someone has pointed out, but I think I can see it. Like, I think Himawari is not on that show, but she's doing a show, like some other show, and it's like I'm not sure why the disrespect, because I feel like she is a unique enough character and a pretty decent worker that it's like, what does that mean? That you're like not having her on your main show, but you're having her do like a secondary show?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But that's it for this week. I say I enjoyed all these matches in their own right.
They were all pretty good. I feel like the Yamashita Watanabe match is the best match.
Oh, by far. Because I would
then
say
maybe like Julia.
Because I would
Starlight
say
Kid.
Yeah, Julia Starlight Kid I would say is 3 3/4. I would agree with Meltzer's 4.5 for Yamashita and Watanabe.
I'd agree with that.
The other two were like I maybe give the first Starlight Kid like 2 3/4 or 3 stars, and then the Pom Matcha match I wouldn't star because I don't know, stars wouldn't do it justice. Because it's just a goofy match. I had a lot of fun with it, and it was good, but I don't know what I'd star that because it's kind of its own deal.
You probably, if you really want to take it seriously, you probably would start low, but it's a fun match.
2 to 2.5, I think, if I was gonna star it.
Yeah. But it's fun, so it's like that's deceptive.
Yeah, I think 2 I'd feel comfortable with for that. But I mean, it's like I would still tell someone to watch it. I like you said.
That's the thing. It's like, what would you start this match at? Maybe 2. Yeah. Oh, so I shouldn't bother with it. It's like, no, you should bother with it. It's fun. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, people are too.
How do you rectify that?
Well, but yeah. I'm from. I mean, when I started watching though, like if you got a 2-star match on TV, it was pretty good.
Well, that's the thing. Like, we were talking about this like offline, like the AEW Revolution that just happened. Meltzer, if you go by the Meltzer star ratings, this, I think again, that's a whole separate argument. I think he overrates things. At the same time, wrestling is better now than it was 25 years ago. But if you take let's absolutely say all of Meltzer's star ratings for AEW Revolution 2025 are legit and accurate and on point. Take that 20 years ago or in the 90s.
It would have been insane.
It would have been show of the decade, at least, if not one of the greatest of all times. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't a great, maybe it wind up being like pay-per-view of the year, but nowadays it's like, this isn't like show of the decade.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But like there's stuff we've watched on this show I wouldn't rate highly though, and I would say like when you're talking about star scale, but I would absolutely tell someone to watch. Like I'm gonna go way back a couple years ago, but like we watched a Jack Briscoe Roddy Piper match, which is like 10 minutes of Jack Briscoe just putting Piper in a headlock. But it's really compelling. But like you said, what would you star that? It'd be like, I don't know, like 1.5 stars, 2 stars, maybe. But like I would still say watch it because it's like really it's really compelling. And but there's stuff like there's other stuff. Like there's stuff like if someone said, what would you rate that on the star scale? I don't know, 4 stars. Would you recommend you watch it? No. Like I
Yeah.
don't see a reason to like that. So like that's kind of why I don't
Well,
snowflake stuff all the time.
I I use the example from like a few years ago, like 5 years ago or so, 6 years ago. The Will Ospreay versus Kota Ibushi match at Wrestle Kingdom, I think 2020,
I
maybe
don't. I
2020.
don't like that match, so I disagree with you on that
Oh,
because
it
I said I don't know how you had a not great match with Coda.
well, from the technical perspective, how would I rate that match? I have to watch it again to give like a
I
snowflake to
didn't
it.
like it, but
Oh,
I
I
mean,
didn't like it at all. But it's like some people rage about that, and of course Meltzer was like, "This one of the best matches of the year," and it's like, if I had to snowflake it, maybe from a technical perspective, I may have to give it like at least like 3 stars or more. But it's like if you ask me how should I watch this match? I've been like, fuck no. It's like
no,
not I always bring up that match because it's like two guys who are technically either good to great. I think Osprey's overrated. That's me personally. Like, I think Kota Ibushi is underrated because he's done some wacky shit in his life and his career that it's like he reached a pinnacle where it's like I thought you were going to be like the guy in New Japan, and then that
they
nosedive like
they screwed
within like
that.
2-3 months.
They screwed that up so hard. Like they've never recovered from because the problem they had there is they screwed that up, and the only reason a huge part of their audience was even staying around is they wanted to see Coda get his moment.
But anyway, like that match is I still use that match as an example because it's like two guys who like are considered the best in the world, and they had the most soulless match. But that's an example. It's like a lot of people think that's a great match. I think it's a terrible match.
Oh, I
If I had
think
to
it's. I don't think
rewatch it
it's.
again, I probably would rate it. I won't say high. I'm not going to give it 5 stars, but maybe from a technical perspective, I'd be like, you did everything technically right, so I should give this like 3 stars. But that's
I
the
think.
example. It's like, would I tell people to watch that match or recommend it? I'd be like, no,
I
avoid
thought
this
it
match. It's
was. I
terrible.
think I gave it. I think I gave it 2 3/4 when I watched it. I thought it was highly mediocre. And it was probably one of the worst Coda matches I'd ever seen. I think the blow up
That
doll. I think he had a better match with the blow up doll than I thought he had with Osprey.
Oh, I actually unironically agree with you. It's like it go into like a house, like it's just been renovated, and they painted all the walls white, and it's all like very sterile and everything. You
Yeah, I
look in,
agree with
you could
that.
like look at inspect the house, white glove it, and be like, I don't even see where there's like I'm looking at this wall from every angle. I don't even see where there's like, oh look, there's like a little excess bit of paint, like a drop rolled down. Like it's perfectly done. Everything's perfect, but it's fucking boring. You
Yeah,
could be like, oh, this technically was exceptionally well done, but I don't care for it. That's that match to me. But
yeah.
that's again, that's me.
We have. I don't know. We've talked about it before. Like that's my problem with Osprey and AEW is like I still don't like his matches. I thought the cage match was pretty good, but like I want to like him because like his like stuff outside of the ring, like his feuds and his angles and like his contributions to those is so good. It makes you want to, like, there was that one he did last May, and I don't remember who it was with, where they did that big angle on TV, and I was like, God damn it. Like, I know I'm not going to like this match, and it makes me so mad because I want to see this match. It was the Forbidden Door angle, I think. I think with him, but yeah, that's my problem with Osprey. It's like I usually don't like the matches, but like the angles are so good and the feuds are so good.
Osprey to me has dramatically improved, but I can't ever like consider him greatest of all time.
No, I wouldn't
And
either.
there's still to me still there's still a disconnect, and it's because
But he's a star though. That's the thing. Like I don't like his matches
he
and
is a
stuff.
star.
Yeah.
To me, the disconnect is because again, I've watched wrestling for like 30 years. So the fact that he doesn't sell or get some subtleties and things that people like Kenny Omega or Ric Flair get,
Or even like
to
Cody
me is like,
gets.
yeah, then it's like you're not going to be at that level. And I almost feel unfair because he has said that he has like some neurodivergent disorders. Like he said he's on the spectrum. I'm not hating on that. I'm just saying like I have dealt with people who have autism. I don't know that he really is on the spectrum in that sense. I think the fact that he has claimed he has ADHD, it's like that to me seems very legitimate. And that is a neurocognitive disorder.
He's from a generation though, and a style where I think um, people didn't sell a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of, I think it's
maybe
atmosphere and stuff, and like
maybe, but I think if he really has the ADHD, like I can believe it. It's like,
and we're also
because you're it's like you're like a squirrel. It's like,
and he's
I'm looking over this way.
And I think we're the vast minority too. Like I think he also hasn't really. I mean, he did it in the cage match. He sold really well in the cage match. I also just think he's not getting, like, he's super over and everything. Like no one seems to care that he doesn't sell except for like people like us. So I mean,
yeah,
maybe I mean, like if I was him, like I probably wouldn't listen to someone like me because we're obviously like it's like when he's kind of the opposite of CM Punk, which is really weird to say. I think he's maybe more emotionally mature, whereas like if Ospreay saw this stuff, he'd probably be like, fuck those guys. They don't know what they're talking about. But if like CM Punk saw us like criticizing him, he would probably like seethe and mold about that for weeks and have some weird lash out about it. And he would do that, and it would be like, if it came up with me, I'd be like, why do you care? We're the last people you should give a shit about, like what our opinion is of you. But like, it's, you know what I mean? Like it's I think he's a little better with that stuff than Punk is. Because Punk would ignore all the like people sucking his dick 24/7 and hyper focus on people like us that just like, one would find it hilarious if he got pissed off about it, but like two, he shouldn't care because we're not his fans, and we're never gonna like be his fans.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're a day removed from Raw, but I guess Punk had a promo, and one of his lines is like, "I work with children," and it's like, dude, we're like 3 years almost. We're like over 2 years.
Why does he keep doing that? Every time he drops some AEW reference, it dies in front of their crowds because they don't really know.
They don't
about
watch
that.
AEW. They don't know. So it's like you said a line. It's like no one gets the call back.
Yeah, so. And they don't like, their audience doesn't care about AEW.
Yeah, so it's like you're either playing to a really small crowd, or it still bothers you. I don't know why you're still doing it. Like,
I just like it. Like, why would that have, just logically, why would that have any bearing on what he's doing now?
It doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. It's dumb. Okay, well, I think that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us as always. I don't know what we're doing next week. Shad will be back though, so we will see you next time. Thanks for watching, and catch you later.